They told me my first few nights would be slow. Graveyard shifts are boring, they said. Bring a book. Nothing really happens between 12 and 6. They were wrong. I started as a 911 dispatcher 2 weeks ago. The training was short, just enough to learn the system, the codes, the tone of voice you're supposed to keep. Calm, clear, detached. It was my third solo night shift. Rain was tapping against the tall windows of the call center, soft and steady. The place was mostly empty. A single janitor mopped somewhere down the hall. The air smelled like overused coffee machines and dust. I kept telling myself to stay alert, to keep my posture straight, not slump into the chair like I had the night before. That had earned me a neck cramp and a weird dream about drowning in static. I'd answered 2 calls in 5 hours. One was a drunk guy looking for his cat. The other was a lady convinced her neighbor's dog was possessed. Standard weirdness. It was 3:17 a.m. when the line lit up. No ringtone, just the soft blink on the screen. Call incoming, unknown number. I cleared my throat and clicked the headset on. 911. What's your emergency? Nothing. At first I thought it was a hang-up. I waited a few seconds, fingers hovering over the disconnect key. And then I heard it. Not a voice. Not really. Just static. Not loud, soft. Like a broken radio tuned, just a little off. Fuzzy and distant, whispering in and out. Hello. I said again, leaning in. Can you speak up? You've reached 911. Still nothing. Just the static, ebbing and flowing like waves. Then, a voice. Not clear. Not full. Just a flicker inside the static, like wind brushing against a microphone. A woman? Maybe a child? I couldn't tell. It was soft. So soft, I almost thought I imagined it. I turned the volume up slowly, heart tapping in my chest like fingers on a window. Can you hear me? I asked. If you're in danger, say something. Cough. Tap. Anything. I pressed a key to start recording the call. I checked the trace. No location. No number. Just unknown blinking back at me like it was mocking me. And then the voice came again. This time, a little louder. Still warped by static, but words began to bleed through. Please. I froze. Please what? You're safe. I'm here. Where are you? No response. Can you give me your address? Tell me where you are. Static. Then, she's inside the walls. My skin prickled. The voice was close to the mic, as if whoever it was had pressed their lips right against the phone. What do you mean? Who's inside the walls? Silence. Then the line clicked. Dead. I sat there, headset still on, staring at the blank screen. My hand hovered over the keys, unsure what to do. No trace. No name. Just nothing. I logged it anyway, like we were trained. Caller. Unknown. Time. 3:17 a.m. Audio. Static and unidentified female voice. I wrote everything down, even the weird part about the walls. I told myself it was a prank. Some lonely night owl trying to freak out the new girl. But the voice, it didn't sound like someone playing around. It sounded scared, desperate, real, and something about the way she said, inside the walls, like she meant it. Like it wasn't just a metaphor or some drug trip. I didn't sleep after my shift ended. The next night, I sat down with a cup of vending machine coffee and a head full of nerves. I told Marla, the older dispatcher I was replacing, about the call. She just shrugged. You'll get those sometimes. Ghost calls, we call him. Could be a cross signal. Could be a glitch. Some people say it's solar flares. But she spoke. Marla raised an eyebrow. She said someone was in the walls. Marla let out a short laugh. Sweetie, you're new. Every creep and nut job in this city finds a way to our lines eventually. Let it go. I wanted to. I really did. But I couldn't shake her voice. It had burned into my mind like a whisper I couldn't unhear. Night 4. Same shift. Same rain. Same quiet. I kept one eye on the screen all night. Watching. Waiting. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the line lit up. Call incoming. Unknown number. I didn't hesitate. 911. What's your emergency? Static. Louder this time. White noise that crawled under my skin like electricity. I pressed the record button again, heart pounding. Then came the voice. Still female. Still broken. This time, crying. I can't move. She's watching me. My mouth went dry. Where are you? Please tell me where you are. The static rose, almost screaming in my ear, then dipped again. She's behind the wall. What wall? What house? What's her address? More crying. Shallow breaths. Panic. She doesn't like the light. She waits in the dark. I scribbled everything on paper, not even trusting the system to save it. Who are you? What's your name? I asked. Nothing. Are you hurt? Can you move? The call cut off. Gone. I stood up, pushed the headset off, took a full step away from the desk, like something might come through the screen. It took me 5 minutes to calm my breathing. I checked the recording. It saved, but when I played it back, only static, not even a whisper, no voice, no crying, no words, just fuzz. I played it 3 more times. Same thing. I emailed the tech team asking if the system might be bugged. They didn't reply. The 5th night, I didn't drink coffee. I needed to feel everything. 3:17 came and went. Nothing. I waited until 4, then 5. Still nothing. For a moment, I was relieved. Maybe it really was a one-off. A stray signal. Some teenager with a broken radio phone. And then, as I was packing up, I saw something strange. The wall. The one behind my desk. It had a crack. Thin. Barely visible. But I swear it wasn't there before. A jagged little line right above the outlet, running vertically like something had pressed from the other side. I stared at it. It wasn't plaster. It looked like drywall that had been pulled inward. I reached out to touch it. Cold. Not just cold, freezing. Like a metal slab left outside in winter. The janitor came in just then. An old man with tired eyes and headphones in. I asked him, casually, if he'd ever noticed the crack in the wall. He took a look, squinted, and said, "This building makes weird noises sometimes. They say the walls shift with the temperature. But that crack hadn't been there. I know it." I stared at it one last time before I left, trying to ignore the idea forming in my head. On my night off, I couldn't stop thinking about her. The caller. I played the static on my phone like an addict, just to hear something. And sometimes, just sometimes, I thought I heard words again. Muffled. Whispered. Behind you. I threw my phone across the room. That night, I dreamed I was trapped in a hallway made of drywall. No doors. Just walls stretching forever. Thin voices whispered from the inside. And something was crawling between them. I went back the next night. I told myself I'd report everything. Demand someone trace that number. Call the police. But at 3:17 a.m., the line rang again. Unknown. I answered. This time the voice was calm. No crying. Just one sentence. She knows you're listening. The call ended. No trace. No sound on the recording. And when I looked up, that crack in the wall, it was wider. And I swear, I heard breathing behind it that I didn't tell anyone what happened after that last call. The line ringing. The voice saying, she knows you're listening. The crack in the wall, wider than the night before. The sound, soft but real, of breathing. I went home that morning and just sat in my apartment. Lights on, curtains open, TV running with the volume low. I didn't even try to sleep. I kept glancing at the walls like I expected something to knock from the inside. But nothing did. Not yet. I went back that night with a plan. No more just waiting around. I look into it. Dig a little. The system keeps a log of every call, even the unknown ones. I wasn't supposed to access them without clearance, but honestly, I didn't care. I pulled up the last 3 calls from unknown. Same timestamp. Always 3:17 a.m. Same result. Line disconnected. No trafe. But then I noticed something strange, something I hadn't seen before. The second call had a partial bounce address. A digital hiccup, like the call had tried to go through a cell tower, but failed halfway. It gave a short number string, HRT 211, followed by a blank space where the location should be. HRT 211. It looked familiar somehow. I searched through the dispatcher codebook. Nothing matched exactly, but I found a note buried in a dusty old binder under the list of inactive facilities. HRT, abbreviation for Hartley Regional Trauma Hospital, a facility that shut down in 2003. Structural issues, it said. Wing B permanently condemned. Last known status, abandoned. And under that, a room list. Room 211, psychiatric hold. Long-term observation. Patient limit, 1. That cold feeling came back. Same as the night I heard the voice for the first time. She wasn't calling from a house. She was calling from there. Or thought she was. The hospital wasn't far. Maybe 15 minutes outside the city. I waited until the end of my shift, then drove there while the sky was still gray and empty. Not full daylight, but not dark enough to feel like I was trespassing. The parking lot was cracked and overgrown. Weeds pushed through the pavement like nature was slowly swallowing the place. The front doors were boarded up, but someone had peeled one side away enough to squeeze through. Inside smelled like mildew and wet metal. Everything was stained yellow from old lights that didn't work anymore. The air felt wrong, still, like a place no one had breathed in for a very long time. I walked slowly, each step echoing in the empty halls. My shoes stuck slightly to the floor, like the building itself didn't want me there. Room numbers were still on the doors. Most of them rusted. I passed 207, 208, 209, then a turn. A long hallway. At the end, room 211. Except the door wasn't there. Just a wall. Like the hallway had been chopped off early. I stepped closer. There were seams in the wall, barely visible under the chipped paint, as if something had been sealed up. Covered. Room 211 was bricked off. I reached out to touch the wall. Cold, like the wall back at the dispatch center. My hand pulled back fast like it burned. But it didn't. It just felt wrong. There was writing on the floor. Faded. Almost gone. Someone had scrawled something in black marker, just before the doorway had been sealed. She never stopped talking. I stared at it for a long time. Then I heard something behind me. A soft shuffle, like footsteps on tile. I turned fast. Nothing. Just an empty hallway behind me. But it was quieter now, like the building had taken a breath. I left without checking anything else. Back at the dispatch center, I asked around casually about Hartley Regional. Most of the other staff barely remembered it. One guy, Tom, said his aunt had worked there years ago in the psych wing. He remembered hearing that it was the kind of place people got forgotten in. I asked him about room 211. He gave me a weird look and said, "I think that's where they kept a girl. Long time ago. Real sad story. I think she died in the walls or something." I didn't know if he was serious or just trying to scare me. Either way, I stopped asking. But that night, when I sat down at the desk, I noticed something new. A note. Just a small slip of paper, folded twice, resting on the console. No name. No handwriting. It said, "Stop answering." That's it. I looked around. Marla wasn't on shift. Tom had left hours ago. No one else was supposed to be there. I crumpled it up and threw it out. Tried to act like it didn't bother me. But it did. Because I hadn't told anyone I was answering the calls. No one. I didn't want to pick up that night. But I did. 3:17 nachts. The line lit up. Unknown. I stared at it for a long time. My finger hovered above the decline button. But then, I picked up. 911. What's your emergency? Static. Of course. But now I could almost anticipate it. The rhythm. The waves. The way it built. Then the voice. "Why did you come?" she asked. My blood turned to ice. "Who is this? How do you know? You saw my room. You saw what they did. I don't know who you are. You felt it. The wall. You heard me." Her voice wasn't scared anymore. It was tired. Hollow. Sad. "I don't sleep," she said. "Not here. There's no time here." I didn't know what to say. I just sat there listening, heart thudding in my throat. "They thought closing the door would stop her," she whispered. "But she lives in the silence. In the empty space between." Who? Who lives there? She didn't answer. But I heard something else. Faint. Another voice. Not hers. Deep. Vet. Like it was being dragged across water. It said, "She knows your name now." I ripped the headset off. The call kept going without me. The waveform on the screen pulsed wildly. Static flaring up and down like a scream underwater. Then the line cut. I logged off early that night. When I got home, there was a package at my door. No label. No return address. Inside was a burned cassette tape. On the back, a sticker. 211. That was all. I didn't play it. I locked it in a drawer and tried not to think about it. But I couldn't stop hearing her voice. Or his. That deep, dragging whisper. "She knows your name now." 2 days passed. I didn't work. I told them I was sick. I wasn't. I just couldn't go back. But on the second night, I got a call. on my personal phone. It rang once, then stopped. The caller ID said, Room 211. I don't even have that number saved. I threw the phone across the room. It rang again. This time just a text. No words, just an audio file. I didn't open it. I deleted it. But I swear, as I lay in bed that night, from the other side of my bedroom wall, I heard static, and beneath it, a voice. Soft. Familiar. Why did you come? The first thing I did when I got back to work was lie. I told them my phone had glitched, that the strange call logs and files were probably a virus. I pretended I never went near Hartley Regional. I never mentioned the cassette tape or the voice that said she knew my name. I even laughed, shrugged it off like I was just being jumpy, like I was still green, still getting used to night shifts and ghost stories. But deep down, I knew I had crossed the line. I had opened something, and now I couldn't close it again. The next night, I didn't touch my headset. The clock ticked past 3:17, and I stared at the screen, watching that soft, steady blink. Call incoming, unknown number. I let it ring. Let time out. Let the static disappear into silence. For a moment, I felt relief. Like maybe I'd finally broken the pattern. But 20 seconds later, it rang again. Same number. I ignored it. A minute passed. It rang again. Then again. And again. Every time I declined, another one took its place. Like dominoes. I turned the screen off. Unplugged the headset. But the line wouldn't stop. It was like the call existed outside the system now. Like it wasn't waiting for permission. Around 3:26, the sound changed. It started buzzing through the backup speakers. The ones that aren't supposed to activate unless there's an emergency broadcast. Just static. Louder than before. Sharper. Like metal scraping on teeth. And then a voice. But not her this time. Not the woman from room 211. It was a man. Screaming. No words. Just raw, broken terror. It cut through the speakers like a knife. I scrambled to mute everything. Shut down the audio ports. Pull the emergency circuit. Everything went dead. But the scream didn't stop. It kept going, even after I unplugged everything. The sound wasn't coming from the system anymore. It was coming from the wall behind my console. I don't remember getting in my car. I don't remember driving home. The next clear memory I have is standing in my apartment, lights off, hands shaking, feeling like someone had followed me all the way from the dispatch center. I didn't sleep. I sat on the floor, back against the closet door, eyes on the wall. At one point, I must have dozed off because I dreamed I was answering phones again. Except the headset wasn't on my head. It was buried inside my chest. Wires wrapped around my heart. And every time a call came in, I felt it vibrate through my ribs like a scream trying to crawl out. I woke up with blood in my mouth. I had bitten my tongue. The next shift, I tried to act normal. I logged in early. Said hi to Marla like nothing had happened. But when I sat down at the console, my user ID wouldn't work. Access denied. I called IT. They said my account had been suspended, too many flag logs. Audio inconsistencies, they said. Corrupted files. Security concerns. They transferred me to an observation terminal. No headset. No live calls. Just reviewing old logs. A glorified secretary job. Honestly, I was relieved. I spent the next 2 nights sorting call transcripts, scanning reports, marking timestamps. No phones. No static. No voices. It felt like maybe the storm had passed. But then, I found her voice again. It was buried deep in the logs. A file from 2002. The year Hartley shut down. Caller ID. Null. Time. 3:17 a.m. Transcript length. 2:47. The recording wasn't labeled, just archived under unresolved psychiatric/no response. I opened it. I didn't even have to press play. The static started on its own. Loud. Familiar. Then her voice. Clearer now. I'm still here, she whispered. They forgot me. But you didn't. I felt my stomach turn. She wasn't talking to the old dispatcher. She was talking to me. In a file from 23 years ago. The voice continued, more urgent. Others are here now. We're all stuck. Room 211 never ends. You open the door. I try to stop the playback. The controls were locked. More voices joined hers. Layered. Frantic. Crying. Screaming. Begging. Get us out. She's coming. She lives in the silence. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. I yanked the headphones off. Threw them across the room. They kept playing. That was the last night I stayed. I didn't clock out. I didn't clean my desk. I just walked away. But the calls didn't stop. They followed me. To my car. To my apartment. Even in my dreams. One night, I turned on the TV to drown out the ringing. The screen flickered. The static came through the speakers. No channel. No input. Just her voice breaking through the white noise. You heard us. You let her see you. I unplugged the TV. I threw it out the window. It shattered in the street. The static still hummed in my ears. I tried telling someone. I called a therapist. Told her I was having vivid dreams. Auditory hallucinations. Anxiety. She asked if I'd been under stress. I laughed. Told her I worked night shifts at 911. She nodded, like that explained everything. She gave me a prescription. Said it would help me sleep. It didn't. It made the dreams louder. More crowded. In one dream, I was inside room 211. Except it wasn't just a room. It was an entire floor. Endless hallways. No doors. Just voices in the walls. Pounding. Begging. And something moving behind them. Watching me. In that dream, I found a mirror. While I looked into it, I didn't see myself. I saw the console. The dispatcher's desk. The red blinking line. Call incoming, unknown. And my reflection reached out and answered it. I stopped sleeping after that. Didn't matter. The calls didn't need a phone anymore. They came through everything. A dripping faucet. A refrigerator hum. The sound of the wind under my door. Every noise carried a voice now. Sometimes pleading. Sometimes angry. Sometimes just repeating my name. One night, I drove back to the dispatch center. It was locked. Closed for maintenance. But from the parking lot, I could still hear it. Faint static. Humming through the walls. And that red blinking light. Still flashing behind the glass. Call incoming, unknown. I went home and started writing everything down. Not for anyone else. Just for me. To prove I was still real. Still here. But the words don't stay on the page. I'll write a sentence, and when I look back, it's gone. Replaced by something else. Things I didn't type. Sentences like, you can't ignore us. We remember your voice. Room 211 has no exit. Sometimes they write themselves while I sleep. I wake up with ink on my hands. Yesterday, I got a package. Another cassette. No label. No note. Just a sticker on the front. 317. This time, I didn't throw it away. I keep it next to my bed. Not because I want to listen, but because I think it's the only thing keeping them quiet. Like a totem. A reminder. I could press play. I could answer. But I haven't yet. I still have that much control. At least, I think I do. Tonight, I heard a knock on the wall. 3 taps. Then silence. Then her voice, muffled, from the other side. I'm not the only one anymore. Then dozens of whispers joined hers. All speaking at once. One voice screamed above the rest. You shouldn't have answered. And now, I hear a phone ringing. Somewhere deep inside my apartment. Not my cell. Not the landline. Somewhere behind the walls. The same ringtone. Over and over. And I know, if I answer it, I won't come back. I was sure the calls had stopped. For 3 nights in a row, I didn't hear the ringtone. No blinking line. No static. No whispers through the walls. Just silence. I should have been relieved. But I wasn't. Because the silence didn't feel normal. It felt fake. Staged. Like the pause between lightning and thunder. Like something holding its breath. Waiting. On the 4th night, I unplugged everything. Router, phone, power strip. Even the smoke detector. I didn't want anything in the apartment making sound. I sat in the living room with the windows shut tight and my back against the wall. The same wall where I'd heard tapping just nights before. I kept telling myself I was safe now. That whatever it was, a curse, a haunting, a leftover echo from that sealed room, had finally lost interest in me. But around 3:10 a.m., I felt it. A shift in the air. Like the temperature dropped just a few degrees. And then, silence. Not quiet. Silence. Too deep. Too complete. Like all the noise in the world had been vacuumed out. No wind outside. No creaking floorboards. No distant traffic. Nothing. Even my breathing sounded muted. I closed my eyes. And that's when I heard it. Very faint. Static. No ringing this time. Just the sound I thought I'd escaped. hissing through the drywall like steam escaping a cracked pipe. My eyes shot open. It wasn't in my head. It was coming from behind the wall, directly behind me. I held my breath and leaned in, pressing my ear to the paint. The static was louder now, more layered. And then, like always, her voice surfaced from inside it. But this time, she wasn't whispering. She was calling me. Answer me. Over and over. Each time louder. Angrier. Answer me. Answer me. I backed away from the wall, heart pounding so hard it felt like it echoed off the floor. I didn't know what to do. There was no phone, no device, just the wall. But it was the call. Somehow, the line had crossed over. No more consoles. No more headsets. The signal was in my home, and I had no way to stop it. That night, I didn't sleep, didn't move. I just sat there, listening to her repeat it again and again. Answer me, until the sun finally came up. And then, as if nothing had ever happened, the sound vanished. Just like that. I tried to convince myself it was a hallucination, that I hadn't slept in too long, that I was slipping. I even called my doctor. They bumped up my meds, told me to unplug from screens, suggested nature walks, fresh air, but none of that mattered, because that night, it started again. Only this time, it wasn't just her. There were others now, voices behind the walls, dozens of them. Some whispered, some cried, some screamed my name so loud I thought the drywall might crack. I walked from room to room, trying to find the loudest point. It was always changing. Sometimes behind the kitchen, sometimes in the bathroom. Once, terrifyingly, from a ceiling above my bed. I pushed a chair up, stood on it, tapped the plaster. And the plaster tapped back. By the fifth night, the voices stopped asking me to answer. They started begging. You're the only one left. Don't leave us here. She's behind you. Don't hang up again. And always, room 211 never ends. I went back to Hartley. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't bring a flashlight. I just drove there at 2 a.m. and climbed through the same boarded window. It was worse this time. Colder. Not temperature-wise, just dead. No echoes. No bugs. Not even that wet mildew smell. Just stillness. Like the building wasn't abandoned. Like it had been buried. I walked the hallway slowly, my hands brushing the walls on both sides. I wasn't looking for room 211. I already knew where it was. But when I got there, the wall was gone. I stood frozen. The sheetrock, the brick, the seals, all of it had been pulled away. And behind it, a door, rusty, faded, the numbers still barely readable. 211. It was open. Not wide, just a crack. Enough to see inside. I shouldn't have looked. I know that now. But I did. And what I saw wasn't a room. It was darkness. Not like a dark room. Not shadows. Just endless, black space. Like someone had carved a hole in the world. And the sound coming from inside wasn't wind. It was static. And underneath it, voices. Thousands of them. Stacked on top of each other like broken calls. All repeating the same thing. Answer me. Answer me. Answer me. I ran. I didn't stop until I was back in my car with the doors locked and the engine roaring. But even then, the sound didn't leave me. I could hear it in the engine hum, in the tires grinding the road. When I got home, it was waiting for me. In the pipes, in the vents, even in the fridge. It was everywhere. The final straw came last night. I was in the shower, trying to feel human again. I stood under the water, eyes closed, letting the heat burn my skin. And I heard it. Very faint, static, coming from the drain. I leaned down, hesitating, water pouring around me. The sound grew louder, closer, and then a voice came up from the pipes, right beneath me. Not hers, Mine. It was my voice, repeating the same thing over and over. Please, someone answer. I dropped the curtain, ran out soaking wet, didn't look back. I still haven't gone back in that bathroom. I don't know what I heard, or how I heard it. But I haven't been alone in this apartment for days. Tonight, it's different. The wall behind my bed, the one that used to be solid, is pulsing, swollen, like something is pushing against it from the other side. I put my hand on it. It's warm. And I swear to God, I feel it breathing. The static started around midnight this time. But it wasn't just hissing. It was music, twisted, warped, like an old lullaby being played through broken speakers. Then the voices came back. Crying, choking, desperate, all pleading, all calling me. Right now, I'm sitting at my desk, writing this down, because I know what's going to happen. It's 3:16 a.m. In exactly 1 minute, the wall will open. I don't know how I know that. I just do. There's something behind it, something that's been waiting. Not her, not the girl, but the thing that took her, that keeps them all in there, the one they're all running from. She doesn't need phones. She just needs silence. And someone to listen. 3:17. The wall is cracking, right down the center, like dry skin splitting open. The static is flooding the room, louder than it's ever been. And now, I hear it. The call. Somehow it's ringing, not from a device, but from the air itself. A pure, shrill tone cutting through everything. Like the whole apartment has become the console. And the call's for me. One final time. I can't ignore it anymore. My fingers are moving, reaching. I'm going to answer. If you find this, if somehow these words survive, don't look for me. Don't answer block calls. Don't follow the static. And whatever you do, don't go near room 211. I still remember the call like it just happened. It came in at 2:37 a.m. I was barely awake, sipping burnt coffee in the dispatcher's room, half watching a muted rerun on the little TV in the corner. The night had been dead quiet. No drunks, no break-ins, not even a cat stuck in a tree. Then the line lit up. Line 3. I answered like I always do. 911. What's your emergency? The voice on the other end was small. Too small. A child. But not crying. Not panicked. Just calm. Almost too calm. There's a boy under my bed, he said. I sat up straighter in my chair. How old are you, buddy? 6. Is your mom or dad home? A pause. Then, they're asleep. His voice was quiet, like he was afraid to talk too loud. But not scared. Just careful. I pulled the logbook closer and started writing. What's your name? Eli. And you said there's a boy under your bed? Another pause. Longer this time. Then he whispered, yeah, but he's nice. Something about the way he said that made my stomach knot. I asked for his address. He gave it right away. No hesitation. Like he'd been waiting for someone to ask. I flagged the call for Officer Ramirez. He was closest and kept the boy on the line. Eli, are you safe right now? Yeah, he said, almost bored. He just talks. He talks. I turned down the volume on the TV, heart picking up now. What does he talk about? Another long pause. He tells me things. What kind of things? Eli shifted the phone. I could hear the bedsheets rustle. Sometimes he tells me secrets. Sometimes he tells me about the other ones. I froze. The other what? The other kids. He said it like it was the most normal thing in the world. Eli, can you look under the bed for me? He was quiet for a while. Then he said something that I still hear when I close my eyes. I don't have to. He's looking at me right now. I felt a chill run from my neck all the way down to my spine. I almost dropped the phone. Eli, are you sure you're safe? Is the boy hurting you? No. He's my friend. Can you describe him? He hesitated. He looks like me, but not all the way. What do you mean? He has my face, but wrong. I didn't know what to say to that. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, useless. Wrong how? He doesn't blink, and his mouth is always smiling. There was a rustling sound again, then a soft whisper I couldn't quite catch. When Eli came back on, his voice was more hushed. He says he doesn't like when I tell people about him. I heard a knock on the door through the receiver. Ramirez. He was at the house. I told Eli, there's an officer at your door. Can you go let him in? Eli didn't answer right away. Then he whispered, he says I shouldn't. Eli, it's very important that you let the officer in. You'll be safe, I promise. Another pause. Then the soft sound of Eli getting out of bed. Feet padding across the floor. The door opening. Ramirez greeted him. His voice was calm, careful, like he knew something was off. I stayed on the line, listening, waiting. A few minutes passed. Then the officer came on the phone. This is Ramirez. I'm in. What's the situation? He sounded confused. The boy's fine, sitting on the bed. Calm. Says everything's okay. I sighed in relief. But then Ramirez said something that made my blood run cold. There's no one under the bed. Later, he told me it was like the room was too clean. Like no kid had ever really lived there. No toys. No posters. No clutter. Just a bed, a dresser, a single lamp, and Eli, staring at them, smiling. They brought him in for a wellness check. The parents were furious at first, woken in the middle of the night by police in their hallway. But something about the way Eli kept smiling made them stop yelling. He didn't cry, didn't fuss, just stared at everyone with that frozen expression, like a doll someone had forgotten to finish painting. I kept tabs on the case. I told myself it was just instinct, just wanting closure. But the truth is that kid unsettled me. The way he talked, the way he described the boy under his bed. Too detailed, too consistent, like he'd met him, like he knew him. A week passed, then two. No calls, no updates, until I came into work for the night shift and found a sticky note on my desk. Eli called again. Audio flagget. Listen, I didn't waste time. Pulled up the file. Headphones on. The timestamp was 3:11 a.m. Same soft voice. He's back, Eli said. A beat. But now he's not under the bed. I leaned in. Where is he? The dispatcher asked. Eli whispered in the walls. That was 3 nights ago. Since then, he's called every night. Always around the same time. Always the same tone. But the story changes. He's in the closet now. He's behind a mirror. He says he likes my skin. He want me to trade. Trade what? He never said. I listened to each call, again and again. There's this moment near the end of the second call. Ilipkosis. Goes completely silent for about 10 seconds. And then, very faintly, you hear it. A second voice. Low. Breathy. It says, he's not yours. I replayed that part over and over. Slowed it down. Filtered it. Enhanced the gain. Same result every time. It wasn't Eli. And it wasn't the dispatcher. Someone else was on the line. Ramirez went back to the house. Said the parents were gone. Moved out overnight. No forwarding address. Left furniture. Clothes. Dishes in the sink. But no sign of Eli. Room was empty. Bed gone. Wall stripped. Only thing left behind was a note taped to the mirror. Just 5 words. Scrawled in a child's handwriting. He followed me this time. They opened a case. Filed him as missing. But no one's really looking. No alerts. No news coverage. It's like they want to forget him. But I can't. Because last night, I got a call. Same time. Same line. No ID. Just static. I picked up. And a voice, small, quiet, familiar, whispered, "There's a boy under your bed." I didn't sleep. I haven't gone home. I'm writing this from the station break room. Lights on, door locked. I keep checking the floor under the table. The corners of the ceiling. The space behind the vending machine. I don't know what's real anymore. But I know this. That voice was Eli's. And he sounded different this time. Not scared. Not calm. Just empty. Like something had hollowed him out and was using what was left to reach me. And the worst part? I still sleep in a low bed. The kind with space underneath. And when I close my eyes, I can feel it. The weight. The shape. Something lying just below me. Holding its breath. Waiting. If I hear a whisper tonight. If I hear someone say my name from the floorboards. I don't think I'll answer. Because if I do, I'm not sure I'll still be me after that. I didn't stop thinking about that call for the rest of the night. Even after the shift ended and I was home with a mug of tea, curled up on the couch, I couldn't shake it. The boy's voice. So calm. Too calm. And the way he said it, he talks to me when I'm sleeping. I know kids can be imaginative, but something about the tone, the steady way he spoke, it didn't sound like make-believe. It felt like he was just telling the truth. Like it was as normal as saying he had a dog or a favorite toy. I told myself I wouldn't get involved. I'm just a dispatcher. I take calls, I pass them on. That's the job. But part of me was already caught. Hooked. Like I'd picked up a thread that wouldn't stop unraveling. The next night, I checked the call log again. Same number. Same time. 2:43 a.m. But the strangest part? There was no record of a unit being sent out. I asked around. Hey, I said to Marla during shift change, keeping my tone casual. That kid who called in last night, on Maple Street, did anyone follow up? She frowned, like she didn't remember. I gave her the address. Then her face changed. Oh, yeah, no one went out, she said slowly. The supervisor said it didn't sound urgent. Just a kid with a nightmare or something. I nodded, but something didn't sit right. This wasn't just a scared kid. I remembered his voice. Not scared, curious. Like he wanted to understand something that didn't make sense. And now no one was checking in. I didn't expect the call to come again. But it did. Same number. Same time. I stared at the screen. My finger hovered over the accept button longer this time. Then I answered. 911. What's your emergency? There was a pause. Then he's copying me. It was the same boy. Quiet, serious. I felt a chill rise in my arms. Who's copying you? I asked, keeping my voice calm. The boy under the bed. His voice trembled a little this time. Not much, but enough to notice. He's not like before. I adjusted my headset. Tell me what's happening. He says everything I say, but faster. He knows what I'm going to say before I say it. I didn't know what to say back. Can you go get your mom or dad? I asked. No. Why not? Another pause. Because he says I can't leave. He says if I get off the bed, he'll take my voice. A sharp breath caught in my throat. I typed rapidly, flagging the call and pinging the supervisor. But no one was responding. It was like my screen froze up for just that moment. Then, suddenly, something new came through my headset. Another voice. Whispered. Low. Don't tell her. I froze. Was that you? I asked. The boy didn't answer. Is someone else there with you? Then, louder now, the boy said. Stop it. That's not what I said. My heart started pounding. What's going on? I asked quickly. He's saying my words, the boy whispered. But he's not using my voice anymore. What do you mean? I don't know. He sounds like me, but different. I heard breathing. Close to the mic, wet, heavy. Then, I sound better now. Same rhythm. Same words. But not the same voice. Too deep. Too slow. Like someone trying to mimic a child with a throat full of water. I want you to send help, I said. I need your address, okay? But both voices answered in unison. You already know it. I felt dizzy, like the headset had turned into something heavy on my skull. I pulled it off. Sat there, breathing hard. The call had disconnected on its own. I tried to log the call, but the record didn't show up. Not in the database. Not even under recent activity. Like it had never happened. But it had. I heard them. Both of them. The next day, I drove out to Maple Street. I told myself I just wanted to see the house. From the outside. Nothing more. It was a small, weathered home at the end of a quiet block. Brown shutters. White trim. Overgrown yard. Nothing unusual. No sign of police. No sign of anything. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, engine off, watching the front door. No one came out. No one went in. I left. I didn't know what else to do. That night, I didn't want to go in. I stood outside the dispatch building for 5 full minutes before going through the door. Marla was on shift again. She looked at me and said, You okay? Just tired. She nodded. Didn't push. The headset felt tighter than usual. Heavier. Like something was waiting in the earpiece. I stared at the screen. No calls. Then, 2:43 a.m. It lit up. Same number. Unknown caller. I hesitated. Then picked up. 911. What's your emergency? This time, silence. No breathing. No whispers. Just quiet. Then I heard it. Knocking. Soft. Repetitive. Like small hands, tapping rhythmically. Hello. I asked. More knocking. Then a voice, sharp, clear, and chilling. I told him he couldn't talk to you anymore. My skin went cold. Who is this? But the voice ignored me. He's quiet now, it said. He's trying to be good. But sometimes he slips. There was a wet sound, like something dragging across the floor. Please stop, I whispered. Then, a sound I wasn't ready for. A child sobbing. Soft, muffled, like from under a blanket. Or under a bed. Let him go, I said, barely able to speak. He's not mine to give, the voice said. Then the line cut. I didn't sleep that day. I sat in my apartment with every light on, watching the shadows shift across the walls. I kept expecting to hear something under my bed. Or worse, from inside the walls. 2 days later, no more calls. Nothing at all. I tried to forget. Told myself it was just a prank. Maybe someone using a voice changer. Maybe a hacked line. But I didn't believe it. Because that night, after my shift, as I walked to my car in the lot behind the station, I saw something in the back seat. A small shape. Just for a moment. before it blinked out of view. I opened the door. Nothing there. But on the passenger seat, a note, torn from a spiral notebook, in a child's handwriting. He likes talking to you. Back home, I checked under my bed. I don't know why. Stupid, I guess. But I needed to be sure. I lifted the cover. Darkness. Nothing but shadows and dust. But as I pulled back, I swear I heard it. A whisper. Not a voice this time. Just breath. Slow. Steady. Mimicking mine, they sent a unit out. Finally, I'd filed 3 reports, escalated the call logs, even spoke directly to a supervisor. I don't know what changed their mind. Maybe I sounded desperate enough on the last message, but someone listened. It was 2:42 a.m. when the call came in again. Same line. Same child's voice. Only this time, he wasn't talking. Just breathing. Long, uneven. Like he was afraid to make noise. I asked him, "Are you still there?" He didn't answer. But the line didn't go dead either. I called it in. I told them to send someone. Gave the address on Maple. Warned them about the child. About the voice. About everything I could. I stayed on the line until the cruiser arrived. Then I lost the connection. And for a few long minutes, I just sat there, watching the screen. Listening to the silence in my headset. Wondering if that would be the last time I heard him. At 3:08 a.m., the officer radioed back. No child. No emergency. Just the mother, confused, half asleep at the door. She told him no one had called. Said her son wasn't even home. Said he hadn't been home for 3 weeks. I stared at the dispatch logs. This wasn't right. He'd called me. Over and over again. Same voice. Same number. I opened the file again. But now the number was different. Listed as unknown. No record of the original. Just this, a single entry. Suspicious activity unfounded. I didn't go home after shift. I couldn't. I sat in my car, watching the sunrise through the windshield, trying to make sense of it. Had I imagined everything? Was it stress? Hallucination? I knew what they'd say if I told them. Sleep deprivation. Trauma. Maybe early burnout. But I knew what I heard. I knew that voice. The fear in it. The way it had changed. The second voice that mimicked him. Distorted, broken, but still him. I wasn't crazy. I couldn't be. I went back to the house later that day. Parked 2 doors down. Walked up the sidewalk like I belonged there. Hoodie on. Hair tied back. When the mother answered the door, she looked even more tired than I expected. Thin face. Hollow eyes. Her arms were crossed like she was holding herself together. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm sorry," I said. I work with emergency services. We receive some calls. From this address." She blinked slowly. "What kind of calls?" "A child. A boy." He said his name was Liam. At first, she didn't move. Then she swallowed. "My son's name was Liam," she said. I felt a cold wave rise through me. "Can I ask what happened?" I said quietly. She looked past me, toward the street, then back again. "He went missing 3 weeks ago. From his bedroom. The police said he probably ran away. But he's 7. Where would he go?" I didn't know what to say. She stepped back. "Would you like to come in?" The house was clean. Too clean. Like someone had tried to erase the chaos. I noticed the pictures on the wall. Family photos, her, Liam, and a man who didn't seem to be around anymore. She poured tea, but didn't touch hers. Just sat across from me at the table and stared at her cup. "Did you say he called?" "Yes," I said. "More than once." He sounded scared. She didn't blink. Her fingers tightened around the handle of her mug. "Do you believe in ghosts?" she asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. "I don't know." She nodded like that was the only answer she expected. Then she whispered, "I still hear him." My breath caught. "What do you mean?" "Some nights, when I'm almost asleep, I hear him whispering. Not words, just sounds. Like he's trying to speak, but something won't let him." I stared at her. "Under the bed," I said. She looked up. "Yes." She took me down the hallway. Second door on the left. Liam's room. It looked like a kid's room, but wrong somehow. Too quiet. No mess. No warmth. The bed was made, but the carpet around it was worn down, like someone had crawled on it over and over. She stood in the doorway while I stepped inside. I knelt down, lifted the bedskirt. Dark underneath. And cold. Much colder than it should have been. I leaned in, listening. Nothing. Then, softly, a creak from the wall, like the house was breathing. I stood up. He said there was a boy under the bed. I told her. Her lips trembled. He told me that too, she whispered. The week before he vanished. I left soon after. I didn't know what I was doing anymore. I was just a dispatcher. Not a cop. Not a psychic. I couldn't bring Liam back. But I couldn't stop thinking about him. That night, I didn't go into work. I stayed home, shut off all the lights, sat on the floor in my bedroom, back against the wall. I kept staring at the space under my bed, waiting. Nothing happened. But just before dawn, I heard a whisper. Not from under the bed, from inside the wall. One word. Help. The next day, I pulled every call record I could. There was nothing. No Liam. No record of his number. But I remember the voice. And the way it changed. The mimic. The one that answered in his place. It hadn't just copied his words. It had taken them. Like it was replacing him. I called the mother. I needed answers. Closure. Anything. She didn't answer. The next morning, I found out she'd been taken in for observation. The neighbors called it in. Said she was screaming in the street. Saying she saw Liam. That he was standing in the yard, talking to her. But no one else saw him. She kept shouting, "Only I can see him." Then she collapsed. They took her to a psychiatric facility. When I called, they wouldn't let me speak to her. Said she wasn't taking visitors. I don't know what's real anymore. But something is wrong. And I think I know where it started. The static calls. Room 211. Voices in the walls. It's all connected. I don't know how yet. But it is. Maybe I was supposed to get those calls. Maybe Liam was reaching for someone, anyone, who would listen. And I did. But it wasn't enough. Last night, I dreamed I was under his bed. Not standing by it, under it. Pressed against the cold wood. Face to the floorboards. And there was something next to me. Breathing in time with mine. Not touching. Just waiting. When I woke up, my back hurt. Like I'd been curled up too tight for too long. There was dust on my shirt. And something else. A note. Taped to the underside of my nightstand. Crayon writing. Child's hand. Just 5 words. He's not me anymore. It had been 26 days since the last call. 26 days of silence. I'd stopped waiting by the headset. Stopped refreshing the logs. Everyone at work thought I'd moved on. That I'd finally let go of the kid who never existed. They thought I was better now. But I wasn't. I was just tired. Tired of being the only one who remembered. Then the line lit up again. It was 3:13 a.m. The same exact time as the first call. Line 4. Unlisted number. I stared at it for a full 5 seconds before I picked up. 911. What's your emergency? There was static. A soft hiss, like before. And then, I think there's someone under my bed. Not Liam. Different voice. Younger. Lisping slightly on the S. Can you tell me your name? I asked carefully. Sammy, the voice said. I'm 6. My stomach turned. Sammy, is someone there with you? He paused. I could hear him breathing. Then he whispered. He talks to me. I close my eyes. Who does? The boy. Silence. Then clearer. He said I should call you. I didn't speak. Couldn't. My hand was shaking on the headset. Sammy, I said finally. Can you tell me where you are? More static. I heard something in the background, like floorboards creaking. Then his voice again. I don't know the numbers. But I saw a sign outside. What did it say? He repeated it slowly. Arbor Glen Apartments. I froze. That complex was across town, near the old rail line. Nothing but low-income units and boarded-up windows. Same city, different side. Nowhere near Liam's neighborhood. And yet, I called it in. I didn't even wait for clearance. I used the same emergency override I'd used last time. A cruiser was dispatched. But this time, I didn't stay behind. I got in my car and drove. The building was worse than I expected. Peeling paint. Rusted metal stairs. Windows covered in plastic wrap. Unit 2B. Second floor. Into the hall. The officers were already there. 2 of them. One knocked. The other stood back, hand on his belt. I kept my distance, hovering in the shadows of the stairwell. I shouldn't have been there. Off shift. Out of bounds. But I had to know. A woman opened the door. Tired. Confused. Her bathrobe barely tied. The younger officer asked her name. She gave it. He asked if she had children. She nodded. My son. Sammy. What? Is he home right now? She hesitated, then opened the door wider. He's asleep. The officer asked if he could speak to him. The woman frowned, but stepped aside. They entered. I waited outside. A minute passed, then two, then shouting. The second officer ran inside. I didn't think. I followed. The apartment was small. Living room, kitchen, 2 bedrooms. One of the officers was in the hallway, just outside a bedroom door. He looked shaken. The other was inside, crouched near the bed. The boy sat on the mattress, wide-eyed, clutching a blanket to his chest. I didn't call you, he said. My heart sank. But I started. The boy looked up at me and smiled. I told you he was here. I took a step back. The mother looked between us. What's going on? She asked. Why is everyone acting so weird? The boy didn't look at her. He looked at me. Eyes wide. Too wide. You remember Liam, right? My mouth went dry. How do you know that name? He told me you'd come, Sammy whispered. He said you listened. That you heard him when no one else did. Behind him, something shifted under the bed. The blanket at his feet lifted slightly. I grabbed the nearest officer. We need to get him out of this room. Why? We just do. Back at the station, I reviewed the call log again. Nothing. No trace of the number. No recording. But I knew what I heard. Sammy's voice. And Liam's name. I ran a check on the address. That apartment had been empty 2 months ago. Before that, the tenant was cited for multiple noise complaints. Neighbors said they heard whispering. Voices in the walls. Same as Liam's place. Same as my room. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sammy's face. But it wasn't his. Not really. It was like something wearing him. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Like he was mimicking the idea of a child. Trying to be human, but failing. I got a call the next morning. Blocked number. I let it ring. It went to voicemail. I didn't want to hear it, but I did anyway. The message was short. 3 seconds. Just Liam's voice. Please, he whispered. Don't let it find another one. Then the line clicked. I tried to follow protocol. Filed a report. Tried to get someone to look into the pattern. But the system fought me at every turn. No evidence. No case. No crime. Just a dispatcher chasing shadows. They told me to take a break. So I did. But not in the way they meant. I went back to the Arbor Glen complex. I had no plan. Just instinct. Unit 2B was quiet. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. Then I noticed something. The door was open. Just slightly. I pushed it. It creaked inward. The apartment was dark. No lights. No sound. I stepped inside. The place was empty. Furniture still there, but no people. I moved down the hall. Sammy's room. The door was cracked open. I peeked in. Empty. No boy. Just a bed. And underneath it, movement. I dropped to my knees. Pulled the bedskirt back. Darkness. But something moved. I held my breath. Liam. No reply. I leaned closer. And then, softly, faintly, I heard a voice. But it wasn't Liam's. It was mine. Whispering. Begging. Help me. I scrambled back. Hit the wall. My own voice kept repeating. Help me. Help me. Help me. Each time, more distorted. More broken. Like it had been chewed up and spit back out. I backed out of the room. Out of the apartment. Out of that building. And I ran. Back home, I sealed the vents. Pushed furniture against the walls. Left every light on. But it didn't matter. That night, I heard scratching. Inside the drywall. Not rats. Fingers. Searching. And then, softly, knock knock. 2 gentle taps on the inside of the wall beside my bed. And a child's voice. Very quiet. Very close. Can I come out now? That was last week. Since then, I haven't gone back to work. I don't answer my phone. I don't check the headset. But the calls keep coming. Through the walls. Through my dreams. Through places where they shouldn't. I think it's feeding. Not on kids. On attention. It wants to be heard. It wants to be believed. And every time we listen, it grows. I don't know who Sammy is anymore. If he ever was. Maybe the boy under the bed was never Liam. Maybe it just wore him like a mask. And now it's wearing others. Learning. Practicing. Getting better at pretending. The last voicemail I got wasn't from a child. It was from me. My voice. Saying, you should have left it alone. And then a laughter. Small. Innocent. If you're hearing this, if you ever get a call in the middle of the night from a child who says he's not scared because the boy under the bed talks to him, hang up. Don't answer. Don't ask questions. Don't listen. Because the moment you do, it knows your name, and it never forgets. I was always told the night shift messes with your head. Too quiet. Too long. Too dark. They were right. It was my 4th month as a 911 dispatcher. Most nights were uneventful. The usual domestic disputes, drunken calls, noise complaints. Nothing too intense. But there was something about the silence between calls that started to get to me. That night, my shift started like any other. Coffee in hand, headset on, screen glowing. Midnight came and went without much incident. But just after 3 a.m., the line lit up. 911, what's your emergency? There was breathing, soft, shaky, then a man's voice, low and tense. She's here again, he whispered. She's outside my window. She's just standing there. I glanced at the call log. The address was an apartment complex on the edge of town. Nothing suspicious flagged. No previous history. I asked him to repeat himself. She's just staring, wearing white. I think it's a nightgown or something. Her hair's all over her face. I typed quickly, logging it. Sir, are you in immediate danger? A pause. I don't know. She never moves. Never comes closer. She's there every night. Always at 3 a.m. Something about his tone made me sit up straighter. He didn't sound drunk or high. He sounded tired. Scared. Hollowed out. Has she tried to get in? No. But she watches. Like she's waiting for something. Can you describe her face? He swallowed hard. I could hear it. No. I don't think she has one. I stared at the screen, unsure how to respond. Stay on the line with me, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Police are on their way. But as I spoke, the line clicked. He hung up. I sat there for a moment, listening to the silence. The echo of his last sentence sat in my chest like a stone. I don't think she has one. The next night, at exactly 3:03 a.m., the line lit up again. Same number. Same man. She's back, he whispered. I closed the blinds tonight, but I can feel her. I swear she knows I'm watching. I try to keep the call professional. Got his name this time, Caleb Mercer. 32. Lives alone. I asked him if he'd had any recent break-ins or threats. No. Just her. Could it be a neighbor? Someone playing a prank? No. She doesn't move like a person. That gave me pause. What do you mean? He went quiet. Then, she doesn't walk. She drifts. I felt goosebumps rise on my arms. I told him I'd dispatch someone again, but he interrupted. They won't find anything. They never do. She's gone by the time they get here. Still, protocol was protocol. I sent a unit. But 30 minutes later, they reported back. No woman. No sign of anyone. Apartment windows shut tight. Street deserted. But Caleb kept calling. Night after night. Always at 3 a.m. By the 5th night, something had shifted. His voice was raw. Shaken. She's getting closer, he said. She doesn't just stand outside anymore. I woke up, and she was at the bedroom window this time. He lived on the 2nd floor. I tried to sound calm, but my fingers trembled on the keys. Are you absolutely sure? Could it have been a dream? I don't sleep anymore. The way he said it made my stomach turn. He told me he tried to take a picture of her, but every time he lifted his phone, the screen went black. One night, his phone just shut off. Wouldn't turn back on until morning. Do you see her too? He asked suddenly. The question threw me. What? When you sleep? When you're alone? Do you see her? I said no. Of course not. I didn't know what else to say. But something about his question stuck with me. The way he said it. Like it wasn't really a question. Like it was a warning. It became a routine. Every night. 3 a.m. Caleb would call. I'd log the incident. Try to talk him through it. Send a unit. Even though I knew they'd find nothing. And every night, his voice got worse. He sounded like someone unraveling. She knows I talked to you, he said one night. I think she's listening. I wanted to ask if he had a history of hallucinations. If he needed psychological help. But something held me back. What if he wasn't imagining it? What if something was out there? I started having trouble sleeping. I'd get home at 6 a.m., crawl into bed, and stare at the ceiling. Thinking about Caleb. About the woman. About the way the static on our headsets sometimes cracked for no reason. I kept my blinds closed. Started checking the corners of my room before I slept. It wasn't rational, but fear never is. The last night Caleb called, he didn't speak right away. There was static, heavy breathing, then a voice, but not his. Soft, feminine, not quite human. "Why won't you look at me?" I froze. My headset buzzed with feedback. I ripped it off and stared at the blinking call Idaho. "Caleb Mercer." I put the headset back on. "Caleb, are you there?" He whispered, "She's inside." My heart pounded in my ears. I locked all the doors. I swear, I locked them. I asked if he could hide, if he could get out. "No," he said. "She's in the walls. She's been in the walls this whole time." The line went dead. I reported it immediately. Sent officers. Told them it was urgent. Maybe too urgent. They looked at me strange when I insisted. An hour later, they called back. No sign of forced entry. No broken windows. The apartment was empty. Completely empty. No furniture. No clothes. No signs of anyone ever living there. But I know what I heard. I pulled a call log. The number was still there. Same one from every night. I tried calling it back. Disconnected. I asked my supervisor if we had any archived reports from that address. He frowned, typed something into the system, then looked at me. "That unit's been vacant for almost 2 years. I didn't believe him. I couldn't believe him. I'd spoken to Caleb. 4 weeks. I saw his name, his number. I heard his voice. But that night, I drove by the building myself. Unit 2B, second floor, left corner. The window was boarded up, like it had been for a long, long time. I don't know who Caleb was, or what he saw, or if he was even real. But sometimes, just before sleep, I think about that voice. Why won't you look at me? Now I leave the lights on. Now I keep my windows locked, even on the second floor. And every night at 3 a.m., I wake up without knowing why. My eyes drift toward the window, and I swear, for just a moment, I see white fabric and hair moving. You ever feel watched? Not just glanced at, but really watched? Like something's staring through your skin. I used to think that was just anxiety. Now I'm not so sure. After Caleb's call stopped, I tried to forget. I really did. I told myself it was a prank. A weird, drawn-out mental breakdown. A hallucination. But every time I sat at that desk, every time 3 a.m. rolled around, I'd feel it again. That pull, like a thread tugging at the base of my neck. Like something knew I was listening. It didn't help that I'd started seeing her too. Only briefly. At the edge of my vision. Not every night, but enough to make me doubt myself. White fabric in the break room mirror. Long hair behind the vending machine glass. Gone as soon as I turned my head. And always just after 3. I try to brush it off. Chalk it up to exhaustion. The night shift does things to you. I told myself that over and over. But then the incident with the cameras happened. And after that, there was no going back. It was 2 weeks after the last call from Caleb. I was on shift alone. The others were out on a break. Everything was quiet. And then the internal alert system buzzed. Motion detected. Exterior parking lot, west side. It happens sometimes. Usually a cat. A late-night janitor. Wind. But something made me check. I pulled up the security cam feed on my second monitor. 4 boxes. Grainy black and white. Static ticking quietly in the background. Nothing. Nothing. Still nothing. Wait. Bottom right corner. There. She stood near the back gate. Barefoot. Wearing what looked like a torn nightgown. Swaying gently, like wind passed through her, but didn't touch anything else. She didn't move toward the building. Just looked. And even though the footage was low res, I could tell something was off. Her face, it wasn't blurred. It just wasn't there. Like someone had scrubbed it out. My heart kicked against my ribs. I leaned closer, squinting at the monitor. And that's when I saw it. The glass panel behind her, the side of a parked cruiser, showed her reflection. But it wasn't in sync. The real woman, or thing, would tilt her head slowly to the right. But her reflection didn't move. Then, a few seconds later, the reflection followed. Late? Wrong. I stared, frozen. Watched it repeat. She moved again. The reflection lagged. A beat behind, like a broken puppet. I hit record. Logged the feed. Marked the timestamp. Whatever this was, I needed proof. But the moment I clicked export, the feed glitched. The screen flickered, turned black, then reset. When the cameras came back up, she was gone. And the footage? Gone too. No file. No error log. Like it never existed. I didn't sleep that morning. I couldn't. I kept seeing her reflection, off sync, like something pretending to be real. I thought about what Caleb said. She's in the walls. She knows I talk to you. Do you see her too? At the time, it sounded like the ramblings of a man losing it. Now, it felt more like a warning. I went back the next night, feeling like something was going to happen. And it did. Not the woman this time. The mirror. Around 2:45 a.m., I went to the staff bathroom. It's this tiny, windowless room down the hall with an old, cracked mirror above the sink. I turned on the faucet. Splash of cold water. Rubbed my face. And then I looked up. I was still leaning over the sink. But in the mirror, I was already staring straight back at myself. Just standing there. Head tilted. My heart stopped. I blinked hard. Backed up fast. The reflection caught up, delayed by a second or two. Like it had to think before it moved. I left the water running. Stumbled out. Didn't go back in that room the rest of the night. Didn't speak about it to anyone either. Who would believe me? A dispatcher afraid of mirrors? I'd lose my job. But things got worse. I started avoiding all reflective surfaces. No mirrors. No black windows. No puddles. Even my phone screen. I dimmed it so much I couldn't see my own face. It didn't matter. I started seeing her anyway. One night, I caught her in the reflection of a microwave door just behind me. Another time, in the back of a turned-off monitor. Her face, or lack of it, pressed against the glass. The worst part? The reflection would always move just a little too late. Once, I turned around fast enough to catch her still mid-motion, like she was copying what my reflection was about to do. She never appeared directly, always through something else, like she didn't exist in our world unless she could bounce off of it. That's when the idea hit me. What if she was stuck behind the reflections, trapped in glass, not a ghost in the hallway, but a parasite in the mirror? I started researching old forums, paranormal blogs, lost Reddit threads. I found something disturbing. There were stories going back decades about the delay. People who said their reflections would pause, echo, watch them after they'd turn away. Some claimed their reflections whispered, that they'd smile when the real person wasn't, that sometimes they wouldn't come back at all. I found one thread posted years ago by someone who went by cmercer_03. Caleb? It said, she's behind the glass, always watching. If she syncs with you, you're safe. But when she's off, run. That night, I covered every mirror in my apartment. Aluminum foil, black tape, bed sheets. And for a while, it helped. Until I saw her on my phone screen. I left it face up on my desk. Locked. Black screen. But I saw movement. A white blur behind me. I didn't turn around. I just sat there. Heart pounding. And then, the phone lit up. Bright white flash. A photo had been taken. I picked it up, hands shaking. Opened the camera roll. There it was. A photo of me, sitting still, and behind me, clear as day, a woman in white, standing inches from my chair. But her face, the pixels there were glitching, not blurred, like they couldn't decide what they were. Just a shifting smear of wrong. And in the reflection of the window behind her, she was smiling. But in the photo's foreground, she wasn't. Another delay. I deleted the photo. I threw the phone in the trash. Didn't matter. The next night, I got another call. Unknown number. No ID. I answered out of habit. Static. Then a voice. Soft. Slow. Why don't you move with me anymore? I slammed the phone down. Pulled the battery. Smashed it on the floor. And yet, every night at 3:00 a.m., I still feel her. Somewhere, just behind the glass. People ask me why I quit. Why I left the dispatcher job so suddenly. No warning. I tell them I needed sleep. Needed peace. That's not the truth. The truth is, I got tired of being watched. Tired of being mimicked. Now, I keep the lights on. The windows boarded. The mirror's gone. But sometimes, I still see movement in my laptop screen when it goes dark. Or in the reflection of someone's sunglasses at the store. She's out there. In the cracks between what's real and what reflects. And if you ever notice your reflection move, just a second too late, don't stare. Don't turn around. Just leave. Before she catches up, there's something no one tells you when you start this job. When you answer that first 911 call, they don't mention how thin the veil really is. Between the calm voice on the line and the chaos waiting outside your own door. After the mirror incident, I took a few days off. I told my supervisor I was dealing with stress-related issues. She didn't ask questions. She didn't have to. I looked like hell. The truth is, I wasn't sleeping. Every surface in my apartment was covered. Foil, cardboard, even black garbage bags taped to the glass. I'd unplugged everything that could reflect. TV, microwave, tablet. And still, I'd catch her. Little glimpses. Shifting white shapes where none should be. She was getting bolder. But it wasn't until I logged back into our system that I realized how close she really was. The dispatcher interface has a feature called RTLS, Real-Time Location Sync. It's mostly used for tracking mobile callers or first responders. GPS pings, updated every few seconds. Color-coded movement trails. One night, while cleaning out flag call records, I noticed a file with no name. Just a string of digits and a red triangle beside it. That usually means a dropped call or corrupted log. I hovered, clicked. The system stuttered, almost like it didn't want to open. And then the screen lit up. A map. Local zone. One blinking dot. My building. Not just the general area. Not even the parking lot. The dot was right outside the north door. And it was moving. I froze. Watched as the red dot paced, slow, calculated, just outside the emergency exit. North side. No windows there. Just a steel door. I flipped to the timestamp. 3:03 a.m. The same time, she always shows up. I try to pull the attached call file, but it was empty. No audio. No transcript. Just GPS. I checked the phone number. It wasn't local. It wasn't even real. All zeros. I flagged it, backed out, told myself it was a glitch. But the next night, it pinged again. Same time. Same dot. Closer. I tried to ignore it. Really, I did. But on the fourth night, something changed. The dot wasn't outside anymore. It was inside, moving through the hallway toward the dispatch room. I jumped up from my chair, heart in my throat, and checked the cameras. Nothing. I checked the hallway. Empty. But the dot kept moving. Past the break room. Past the restrooms. Toward my desk. Then, it stopped. Right on top of me. The lights didn't flicker. The room didn't go cold. No doors creaked. No whispers. But I felt it. Like a sudden pressure on my chest. Like someone was standing behind me, breathing softly, waiting for me to notice. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Instead, I reached out and slowly shut down the tracking interface. The dot vanished, but the feeling didn't. From that point on, she started showing up more often. Not in reflections, not in calls, but on the map. Always at 3:03. Always outside first, then closer. Sometimes she'd walk the perimeter. Sometimes she'd linger at the fire escape. One night, I watched her walk around the entire building, like she was studying it, like she was looking for a way in. No one else could see the pings. They weren't tied to an active call. They were just there, silent, patient, like her. I started tracing the movements, charting every ping, mapping her route on paper. And I noticed something strange. She only ever moved in reverse, like she was replaying paths taken by someone else backward. One night, she walked the exact route a paramedic had taken a week earlier, but in reverse order, step for step. Another time, she mimicked a fire drill route from last month, backward. It was like she was unspooling something, undoing it. That's when I remembered Caleb, his apartment, his route. I pulled up the logs, mapped his 911 call timeline, and sure enough, 2 nights later, her GPS ping followed it, in reverse, from the phone on the kitchen counter, to the hallway, to the living room, to the window. But where Caleb had first seen her outside, her ping started inside the apartment. She was retracing him, backward, like she was trying to undo his escape, like she was working her way back to the beginning. And if she was following my patterns now, that meant I was next. So I tested it. I took the long way to work, cut through an alley I never used, entered through the rarely used basement entrance. That night at 3:03, her dot followed. Step by step, in reverse. I walked in at 7:14 p.m. She appeared at that same point at 3:03 a.m. I turned left in the hall. She turned right, backwards. She didn't just track. She rewound. And that's when I realized something. She wasn't just following. She was unmaking me, piece by piece. Like if she could undo enough of me, my steps, my voice, my presence, I'd be erased entirely. Not killed, not taken, erased. I became obsessed, slept at different places, changed phones, changed clothes every 2 hours, stopped using mirrors altogether. But the more I resisted, the closer she got. One night, I checked the map and saw 2 dots, mine and hers, overlapping. I stood up, knocked over my chair, heart pounding, checked every camera, nothing. Checked the hallway, empty. But then I heard it. Not footsteps, not whispers. A sound like fabric dragging across tile. Long, slow, like someone wearing something wet. I turned back to my screen. Both dots gone. I called out sick for a week. Didn't leave my apartment. Didn't answer calls. Didn't touch any reflective surface. But on the 7th night, something new happened. A package arrived. No label. No sender. Just sitting on my doorstep. Inside, a GPS tracker. And a mirror. Not a big one. Just a small, handheld compact. I opened it, hands shaking. The glass was cracked. My face stared back. Warped, delayed, wrong. And then, in the reflection, I saw her behind me. For just a second. Close enough to touch. I dropped the mirror. It shattered. But her voice stayed. Soft. Familiar. You're walking backwards now, too. I didn't understand at first. But then I checked my apartment. The layout. The routines. And I saw it. I'd reversed everything. My bed was now on the other wall. Dishes in the opposite cabinet. Toothbrush in my left hand. I'd been changing so much to throw her off. I'd started to mirror her. And maybe that's what she wanted all along. Not to erase me, but to replace me. To become me, while I slowly became her. And if that was true, then maybe I was never tracking her. Maybe she was tracking me. From the other side. One ping at a time. I tried to quit. Told my supervisor I couldn't handle it anymore. She said I never came back from sick leave. Said I hadn't been on the schedule for 2 weeks. But I remember the nights. The shifts. The calls. The map. The pings. I checked my phone history. Nothing. My login credentials expired. My badge deactivated. It was like I'd never worked there at all. Like someone else had taken my place. That night, I checked the tracker from the package. Turned it on. And there she was. Red dot. Moving. But this time, not outside. Not toward me. Inside. Already in my building. Already in my room. The dot sat still. Right on top of me. And then, it split. 2 dots. Both red. Both unmoving. Both labeled the same. Me. So now I wait. I don't check the GPS anymore. I don't leave the apartment. I don't talk to people. Because I don't know if I'm the original anymore. I don't know if I'm the real me. Or just her, halfway through the mirror. But if you see her, if you feel her watching, don't run. Don't scream. Don't even move. Because she's tracking you too now. And every step you take forward, she's already taking backward. Right back into your skin. Right back into your name. And one night, maybe soon, you'll check a screen, or a mirror, or the corner of your eye, and realize the dot isn't following you anymore. It's leading. And you're just trying to catch up. That I used to think the worst part of this job was the helplessness. Listening to someone scream while you sit miles away, powerless. But that's not it. The worst part is when your own voice starts answering the calls. It started last week. I was sitting alone in dispatch, night shift again, trying not to look at the monitors too much. Trying not to think about her. Trying not to check the GPS. Trying to feel normal again. But the phone rang. Line 3. I picked up. 911. What's your emergency? There was silence for a few seconds. Then a man's voice, shaky, almost crying. She's back. The woman in white. She's looking in again. I froze. It was the same voice. The same man from before. Caleb. But we'd closed that file. He'd moved. Changed numbers. Hell, I thought he left the state. Sir, can you confirm your location? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. And then, before he could respond, I heard it. Me. My voice. I already told you. She doesn't go away. She just waits. It was faint in the background, like a voice on another line. Whispering, echoing, warped by distance. But it was me, saying something I never said. And then the line cut out. I went back into the call system and pulled the audio log. Listened to it again. Caleb's voice. Panic. But instead of my voice answering, the call began with 911. What's your emergency? In my voice. But it wasn't the same intonation. It was too calm, too slow, like I was mimicking myself, like someone was wearing my voice like a mask. I checked the call source. There was no number, no ID, just a blinking field that said, already answered. I flagged it, logged it. But before I could report it, another call came in. This one wasn't from Caleb. It was from a local number, a real one, a woman crying, whispering. Why did you say that? Why would you say that to my son? I blinked, confused. I'm sorry, ma'am. Who are you trying to reach? You told him to go outside. You said the lights were safe. You said the white lady wouldn't hurt him. What? I didn't. He's gone, she sobbed. He's gone and the lights are still on, and you said. The line cut again. This time, I didn't wait. I pulled the log, played it back, and there it was again. My voice. But not me. The lights mean she's watching. Go to her. What the hell does that even mean? I never said that. I never would. But there it was in the system. Clean. Clear. Me. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed in dispatch and went through every call I'd taken in the last month. Line by line. Voice by voice. And slowly, I started finding them. Fragments. Calls where I should have been the responder, but wasn't. Calls where my voice gave instructions I never remembered. Let her in. She doesn't like mirrors. Break them. Don't run. She'll chase you. She's your reflection now. Say yes when she asks. And the worst part? I started remembering. Not the calls, but the feelings. Like I had dreamed those words. Like I'd spoken them in some half-sleep state. Like I'd said them while someone else wore my body. I tried testing it. Set up a fake emergency call. Called into the system using a burner phone, blocked ID. Sat across the room, headphones on. Waited. The phone rang. I picked up. 911. What's your emergency? Silence. Then static. Then, my voice, coming from the headset. She's already inside. Don't pretend you didn't invite her. I yanked the headset off, heart racing. Ran across the room. Checked the call interface. Nothing was open. No lines were active. But the headset kept whispering. More words now. Garbled. Wrong. All in my voice. But twisted. Corrupted. Like something had cracked into the system. And was learning me. I stopped speaking after that. Wouldn't answer calls. Wouldn't talk at all unless I had to. I started writing things down for my supervisor, claiming I had laryngitis. She didn't care. Just nodded and handed me a stack of flag calls to process. I took them back to my desk and almost threw up. They were all mine. Every single one. Same date. Same time. But not the same content. Each one had been answered by me, but with different words. Different tones. Words I didn't remember saying. Voices that didn't sound quite right. One call had me laughing, a high, cracked sound. Another had me whispering the same phrase over and over. The mirror opened. She came through. The mirror opened. She came through. And one call had no caller. Just silence. Then my voice. I am you now. I left work that night and tried to go to my brother's place. Just for a night. Just to feel normal. He opened the door, gave me a weird look. You already came by earlier, he said. My blood ran cold. What? You dropped off some mail. Didn't say much. Just smiled. I've been at work. He frowned. Are you messing with me? I wasn't. I wish I was. Because when I checked the security cam footage outside his place, there I was, knocking on the door, smiling, but not really smiling. Too wide, too still, like the smile had been drawn on after the fact. The next morning, I woke up to my phone ringing. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Let go to voicemail. When I checked the message, I nearly passed out. It was a call recording. A 911 call. Someone breathing heavily. Running. Then, she's in the glass. She's wearing his voice. Whose voice, sir? I hear myself say, calm, professional, the dispatcher. She's pretending to be him. Then silence. And then, my voice again. Would you like to report yourself missing? That's when I knew. It wasn't about reflections anymore. Or GPS. Or even voices. She was inside the system now. And she was using me to get through. Like I had been a door left cracked open too long. Every call I answered, she listened. Every word I spoke, she copied. Until she didn't need me anymore. She could be me. So I shut it down. Wiped my login. Smashed my headset. Turned off every screen. Tried to leave. But the system wouldn't let me. As I walked to the exit, the intercom clicked on. My voice, through the speaker. Dispatch, line 7. Emergency. Please don't go. I kept walking. Then, louder. If you leave, she'll follow someone else. Someone younger. Someone who listens. And I stopped. Because I knew what that meant. She was done with me. She was reaching for someone else now. So I made a choice. I stayed. I sit here now, every night, watching the lines. I don't speak. I don't answer. I just watch. And when the phone rings, I let it ring. Because if I pick up, I don't know what voice will come out. Maybe hers. Maybe mine. Maybe something between. But last night, something new happened. A little girl called. Said her mom was acting weird. Said her mom spoke with a man's voice sometimes. Said her mom asked her to break every mirror in the house. And then the girl whispered. The woman on the phone, she sounded like you. I asked where she was. She told me. And I checked the GPS. One red dot. Sitting outside her house. Not moving. Then another dot. Inside. Already inside. Both labeled. Dispatcher. So this is my warning. If you ever call for help, and the voice on the other end sounds too calm, too slow, too much like you, don't speak. Don't ask questions. Just hang up. Because she's learning. And every time you speak to her, she gets better at pretending to be human. Better at pretending to be you. And one day soon, she won't need the mirror. She'll be the one answering your call. And you? You'll be the reflection she leaves behind. They always train you to expect the worst. Gunshots. Screams. Crashes. But no one prepares you for silence. Not the deep, thick kind, the kind that waits. I was working a slow night shift at the 911 center. Usual background hum. The quiet buzz of monitors. Coffee going cold. Eyes half on the screen, half on the clock. 2:41 a.m. Then line 5 lit up. The screen flashed red, like always. But there was no caller ID. No number. Just this unknown origin disconnected line. I hesitated. Just a glitch, I told myself. Still, I picked up. 911. What's your emergency? No response. Just breathing. Slow. Shaky. Then a strange sound behind it. Like scratching. Very faint. Metal on wood. Nails maybe. Hello. I said again, softer this time. Can you speak? More breathing. Still no voice. But it didn't sound far. It didn't sound accidental either. Like someone was choosing not to speak. I leaned closer to my headset, lowering the volume to catch more. The breathing was uneven, like they were hiding. Wheezing between each breath, like they were holding it in too long. Then, the scratching again. Closer this time. And beneath it, something wet. A kind of dragging sound. I felt something crawl under my skin. A chill on my neck. Sir or ma'am, if you're in danger, say anything. Make a sound. Knock. The line stayed still. Breath in. Breath out. Scratch. Drag. Then, one sound broke through. A whisper. Not a word. Just a small exhale, like they were trying to speak through something in their mouth. A gag? Blood? I don't know. I pressed the trace button. Nothing. System flashed again. No signal. Inbound only. That should have been impossible. Calls don't come from nowhere. But this one did. I flagged the call and kept listening. Dispatch policy says after 30 seconds of no response, I'm allowed to hang up. But I didn't. I stayed on. Something about the breathing, it felt like it was waiting for me to respond. Like the caller was listening as closely as I was. Then it got weirder. The breathing changed. Shifted. It didn't sound like one person anymore. There were two different rhythms now. One deep and slow. The other shallow and fast, almost hyperventilating. Like someone was standing over someone else. And then a thud. Just one. Loud enough to jolt me upright. Hello. Are you injured? Are you trapped? Then, finally, a word. Muffled. Strangled. But clear enough to make my heart stop. Under. I blinked, gripping the headset. Underwear. Say it again. Silence. Then a noise, sudden and violent. Like the phone had been snatched away. A flurry of static. More dragging. And then nothing. Call ended. The line dropped on its own. No hang up. No disconnect tone. Just ended. Like whoever was on the other end stopped being there. I reported it, of course. Filled out the log. Time. Behavior. All of it. Supervisor skimmed it, sighed, and said probably prank kids messing with ghost calls again. But I knew. This wasn't a prank. It felt too real. I told myself to let it go. That was probably a glitch. Old line bleeding into the system. But then, 3 nights later, at 2:41 a.m. on the dot, line 5 lit up again. Same tag. Unknown origin disconnected line. I picked up without thinking. 911. What's your emergency? Nothing for 4 seconds. Then, the breathing came back. Just like before. And the scratching. But this time, more desperate. Faster. The dragging sound, it was closer. Like someone was being pulled across a floor, slowly. Then the voice came again. Clearer this time. Under floor. My hand tightened on the headset. Are you under the floorboards? Are you trapped? Breathing. Faster now. Then a scream. Cut short. Like someone had clamped a hand over their mouth mid-yell. I jumped in my seat. The sound was raw. Real. Panic, not performance. And then, for the first time, I heard another voice. Low. Gravelly. Right against the receiver. It didn't say words. It just breathed back. Like it was mimicking the caller. A third rhythm. 3 breathers now. Then, the sound of something opening. A creak. Wood splitting. Like a trapdoor. And then, the call dropped again. That was enough for me to break protocol. I ran a wider system sweep. Had tech scan for backdoor pings or ghost lines. They found nothing. No trace. The call didn't exist in the records. Except on my own console, my personal terminal showed the entry. Like it was only sent to me. They accused me of running simulations. They said I'd probably patched in an old call for training. Even after I showed them the log, no one cared. So I started saving them, recording them manually. Each night, same time, 2:41 a.m., the call would come in. And each time, the voice got louder. The words got clearer. Under, she put me under. She lives there now. Breath is not mine. It wasn't until the 6th call that I heard my own name. Not in a scream. Not a cry. Just whispered, slow, like it was being read. Eli. That's me. I didn't list my name on any dispatch file. Only my employee ID goes on external calls. There was no way they should have known that. But they did. They always whispered it once, right before the line dropped. Like a signature. Like a promise. I started sleeping at the center. Locked the doors. I couldn't explain it, but something in me knew. If I went home, the call would follow. And I couldn't take that risk. Because lately, when the breathing starts, I feel it match mine. Inhale. Exhale. Almost like I'm syncing up with it. And the scratching? I hear it when the line is dead now. No call. Just the faint sound of nails onward beneath the floorboards of dispatch. Last night, I crawled under the console. Pulled up a floor tile. Nothing there. But the air, it was warmer. Stale. Humid. Like something had been down there. Breathing. Watching. Tonight, I did something stupid. When the call came in, I spoke first. Not the usual open. I just said, why me? Silence. Breathing. Then a whisper. Because you hear us. The line buzzed. Crackled. Then, not just breathing. Voices. Dozens. All layered on top of each other. Some crying. Some gasping. Some begging. All whispering the same phrase. She's crawling. And then, beneath all that, a deep, sharp inhale. And a voice that wasn't layered. Wasn't like the others. Low. Wet. Wrong. It said, she's almost there. The call dropped. And the lights in dispatch flickered. Only for a second. But enough. Because when the power returned, my console had a new call log. Not incoming. Outbound. From my terminal to a number that didn't exist. Duration, 2 minutes, 41 seconds. Audio, heavy breathing. Scratching. My voice. I didn't make that call, but it's there. Saved. Replayable. I listened to it 10 times. It's me. But I don't remember saying anything. The only words spoken were, "Can you see me under there?" So that's where I'm at now. I don't sleep. I barely talk. Every night, I wait. 2:41 a.m. Like clockwork. Line 5. No number. Just breath. Just her. And tonight, I think she's going to answer when I call back. Because something's changed. The scratching? It's not distant anymore. It's under this floor now. Under my feet. I can feel it through the chair legs. She's not trapped. She's not stuck. She's coming up. And I don't think she wants help. I think she wants to switch places. So if you ever hear breathing on a deadline, don't answer. Don't speak. Don't even breathe. Because if she hears you, she'll call you next. And when you pick up, you'll already be under the floor. You ever feel like the world is turning without you? Like everything outside your window is real and alive, but you're stuck in a box watching it from underwater? That's how I've felt for the last 6 days. Since the breathing started. Since the scratching found its way here. Since the outbound call in my own voice. I haven't told anyone at the center. I think they know something's off, though. I talk less. Sleep less. Drink more coffee, though it never helps anymore. Every night, 2:41 a.m., I sit in this chair and wait for line 5 to blink. It always does. But last night, something new happened. Line 3 lit up instead. That line is tied directly to the police emergency system, not public access. Only law enforcement or field agents can use it. Caller ID read, Park County Mobile Dispatch number 6. We don't even have a Park County in our system. Still, the protocol is protocol. I picked up. 911. What's your emergency? What I heard next didn't sound like a cop or a dispatcher. It sounded like a man trying not to scream. His voice was shaking, close to sobbing. Please, I don't know where I am. That's how he started. No hello, no title, just panic. I leaned in. Sir, you're connected to emergency services. Are you injured? A pause. Then he whispered, she's right above me. I swear I stopped breathing. I asked him to repeat it. She's right above me, he said again, slower this time. She's crawling around. I sat up straight, scribbled it all down. I asked who she was. He didn't answer that. He just started giving me details in this broken, frantic way. Said he'd woken up in a small, pitch-black space. No windows, no light, only the smell of old wood and rotting carpet. He said he tried to move, but the space was too tight, like a box. His phone was at 12% battery. He didn't know who he called. He just said he kept pressing redial until someone picked up. That's how he got to me. I told him to remain calm and describe what he heard. And that's when I started to feel sick. Because everything he described matched the sounds I'd been hearing on line 5. He said it started with a slow breath. Right above the ceiling, soft at first. Then the faint sound of nails. Not animal claws. Fingers. He said he could hear her crawling. Not walking. Crawling. Back and forth. Slow and steady. No muttering. No talking. Just that sick, wet breath. And skin sliding over drywall. I tried to trace the call. System said, coordinates invalid. Location does not exist. I ran it again. Same error. The longitude and latitude pointed to an empty field north of state borders. I zoomed in. Closest landmark? Nothing. Just forest. No houses. No stations. Nothing. Still, the caller insisted he was in our jurisdiction. He said, I heard your voice before. I froze. I asked him what he meant. He said, on the phone, I heard your voice from inside the walls. I didn't know what to say to that. He went quiet for a second. Then I heard him start crying. He whispered, she knows when I talk. I could hear movement again. Soft creaks. The sound of someone shifting weight overhead. He whispered, she's above me right now. Listening. And then, clear as day, through the phone speaker, I heard it too. A dragging sound. Not quite crawling. More like something was being pulled across the ceiling. Like a wet sack being moved inch by inch. He said, she doesn't like light. She only moves in the dark. I told him to use his phone flashlight. He did. I could hear him fumbling with it. Then he screamed. Just once. Quick and sharp. Then he whispered. She turned her head, and the line clicked. Not dropped. Not disconnected. Just silence. The screen still said active. But there was nothing on the line. I spoke. I shouted. Nothing. Until, eventually, I heard one sound. A creak. Then a voice. Not his. Not mine. A woman's voice. So soft. I could barely hear it. But it said, "You can't trace her. She's not on maps." Then the call ended. No log entry. No trace. Just gone. I didn't sleep after that. I didn't move for hours. Just sat there staring at the blank screen of line 3. Around 5 a.m., I pulled up the call history manually. Backdated the coordinates to satellite view. Still the same location, an empty patch of land surrounded by trees. No roads. No cabins. No tracks. But something caught my eye. A shadow, barely visible. The outline of a square, maybe 10 by 10 feet, darker than the rest of the grass. Could have been a shed foundation or a collapsed hatch, but there was no structure listed on county records. Just old dirt. Still, I printed the satellite image, hung it above my console, labeled it, "She's right above me." I don't know why I did that. Maybe because I needed proof something happened. Something real. Because lately, the longer I sit in this room, the more I hear things. Even when the phones are silent. Like movement in the vents. Not rats. Too slow. Too heavy. And every now and then, I swear, I hear someone say my name. Not shout it. Just breathe it out. Like a secret. Right into my ear. But there's no one there. Ever. Last night, it happened again. Same time. Same line. Line 3. But this time, there was no ID at all. Not even unknown. Just blank. I answered. Same voice. The man. Still whispering. Except this time he sounded hoarse. Raw. Like his throat was full of dust. He said, "I moved. I didn't mean to." I asked what happened. He said he tried crawling toward what he thought was a vent. He made it halfway before the air got thicker. He couldn't breathe. Said it felt like someone was pressing on his chest. He could hear her above him again. Only this time, she was whispering his name. Over and over. He said she moved faster now. Not crawling, but dragging herself like her bones were broken. Still fast. Too fast. I asked him again where he was. He said he remembered a street name. Echo Vale. I searched it. Nothing in our system. But I ran it through national records. Found one match. Not a street. A mine. Echo Vale coal shaft number 3. Abandoned in the 70s after a collapse. Only one man survived. The rest were never recovered. They say the mine flooded out, filled with soil and water and pressure from the hills above. 27 men buried under 40 feet of earth. Their bodies were never found. They sealed it off in 73. No one ever opened it again. Except the coordinates of the mine. Exact match to the call trace from last week. The place that doesn't exist. That's where he is. That's where he's been the whole time. But that doesn't make sense. Because he called me. From underground. Through a dead number. From a place that was supposed to be buried. And somehow that voice, his voice, found a line. Just to say one thing. She's not done crawling. Then he screamed again. But it wasn't a scream of fear this time. It was a warning. I could hear him trying to shout something else. But his voice broke. Something wet choked it off. The last thing he ever said was, "She's looking for someone new." Then the line exploded with static. Not the kind from bad reception. The kind that comes when a line gets cut. I don't think he's alive anymore. I don't think he ever really was. Not the way we think. Because when I went back into the system, his call had already been marked as legacy contact. That's a label we only use for pre-recorded training clips. Not live calls. Not real people. And when I pulled the audio, it was blank. Not silence. Not breathing. Just nothing. Like the call never happened. So why do I remember every word? Why do I still hear him begging for help? Why do I still see his trace burned into my console, even after a system wipe? And why? Tonight, as I sat here staring at the clock hit 2:41 a.m. again, did line 5 finally light up again? Same ID. Same blank screen. But this time, when I answered, it wasn't breathing. It was humming. A slow, tuneless hum. And somewhere behind it, scratching, right above my ceiling vent. Right now, I turn off the lights. Listen closely. She's moving again. Not fast. Not angry, just patient, like she knows where I am, like she's learning the shape of the ceiling above me, waiting for the right board to give. And when it does, I think I'll hear that man's voice again, but not through the phone, from her mouth, wearing him like a memory. And I'll have to answer, because no one else will, because she calls the ones who listen. And I've been listening for too long. If I disappear, if I stop showing up for shifts, just remember, she's right above me, and she doesn't crawl forever. Eventually, she comes down. I wasn't supposed to go. I'm not Field. I'm just a voice in a room. But when they called in the find, I didn't even ask permission. I just grabbed my jacket, told the night supervisor I was taking a drive, and left. Didn't even think to explain where or why. I knew the moment I said it out loud, it would sound insane. How do you tell someone, hey, I got a call from a man trapped underground in a place that doesn't exist, and now there are claw marks in my ceiling and someone breathing through the walls? You don't. So I drove out myself. 47 miles off the paved road. I followed the old coordinates from a trace, the ones that pointed to a blank field. But when I got there, something had changed. The grass looked lower, like it had been pressed down. Something heavy had been moving around out there. I followed the flattened patches toward the tree line. Nothing at first, just woods, old and dead quiet. But about 50 yards in, I saw the roof line, tucked behind a wall of dead brush. Almost invisible unless you were right on top of it, was a small house. No road led to it. No mailbox. No path. The kind of house you don't just stumble across. It was sagging in the middle, tilted like a cracked tooth. Looked like it had been abandoned for decades. But the front door was open, and there were 2 cruiser cars parked behind the tree line. The local department had gotten a tip, said a hiker reported movement near the area. Said they heard someone screaming for help underground. I didn't tell them I already knew that voice. Didn't tell them I'd been talking to him for days. They walked me through the house. Dust everywhere. Wallpaper peeling off the walls in long, dry strips. But the air was still warm. Too warm. Like something had just been there. In the far corner of the living room, there was a rug pulled up. Beneath it, a hatch, just barely wide enough for a person. One of the officers said they found it by accident. The hinges had rusted shut. They had to pry it open with a crowbar. What was underneath? It wasn't a basement. It wasn't a cellar. It was a crawl space. A narrow dirt tunnel just tall enough to crouch. No lights. No vents. But it went deep. One of the cops dropped down with a flashlight. Said the first thing they noticed were the scratch marks. Not from tools or animals. From fingernails. Long, desperate gouges in the wood lining the crawlspace walls. Like someone was trying to dig their way out. Or something was trying to dig its way up. The farther they went, the deeper the marks got. At the very back of the space, almost 30 feet in, they found a small corner, carved out like a nest. The floor was uneven, padded with dirt and scraps of old carpet. In the center was a phone. Black. Cracked. Still on. Still warm. No one else down there. Just that phone. But the screen showed something strange. An open call. Still active. The number? My dispatch center. My extension. Line 5. It had been connected for 9 hours. No audio. No signal strength. Just a timer ticking up. Like someone had called me. And then disappeared. I stared at it for a long time. One of the cops asked if I recognized the number. I said no. I lied. Because it was his number. The man who said she was above him. The man whose screams kept replaying in my head every time I tried to sleep. I asked if they found anything else. They nodded slowly. Said something had been buried in the far wall. They found the edges of a shallow grave. Not bones. Not a body. Skin. Just a long piece of skin. Like it had been peeled off in one piece. Still damp. Still fresh. But no blood anywhere. Like it had been left there. On purpose. They took it in for analysis, but I already knew what they'd find. Human. Male. No ID. No missing persons match. No records. Like he never existed. Like he wasn't supposed to. The crawl space was sealed again that night. The cops didn't file a full report. Didn't call in backup. They just walked out of there like they'd seen something they didn't want to name. I asked one of them, a guy named Ramirez, what he thought happened. He didn't answer at first. Just looked at the woods behind the house and said, something watches out here. Not a person. not an animal. Just watches. Then he said the weirdest thing. He said, some calls don't come from the living, and walked away. When I got back to the center, my desk had changed. The satellite photo I'd pinned up, gone. The call trace history, wiped. Even the system log for line 5 gone. Like it had never connected. Like the whole week of calls had been scrubbed out of the records. I asked the tech guy if maintenance ran any purges. He said no. Said my terminal showed no activity at all during the last 7 nights. I told him that wasn't possible. I'd been there. He said I must have dreamt it. Dreamt 7 nights of calls. 7 nights of breathing and scratching and voices whispering my name? No. No way. Unless I wasn't talking to someone on the other end. Unless the line wasn't reaching out. Unless it was reaching in. Into here. Into this place. This center. Into me. That's when I remembered something. One of the calls, I think the second night, he said something strange. He said, she found a place to crawl. Right under you. I thought he meant metaphorically. But what if he didn't? What if she really is under me? Under the building? Under my station? I waited until everyone left for the night. I brought my flashlight and checked the floor panels under my desk. I'd never noticed before, but the tile right below my chair had a faint gap. Barely noticeable. I got a crowbar from storage. It took 15 minutes, but I got it loose. Underneath? Another hatch. Old. Wood. Warped. No hinges. Just a pull ring. I opened it. What I saw underneath was identical to the crawl space under the house. Same dirt walls. Same low ceiling. Same smell. Only this one? It didn't go 30 feet. It went on forever. I could see the tunnel curve slightly left and disappear into black. I swear I felt cold air coming from it. But the worst part? There were marks in the dirt. Not scratches. Handprints. Hundreds of them. Some small. Some impossibly long. All pressed into the ground like someone had been pulling themselves through. The same pattern over and over again. Left hand. Right hand. Drag. Left. Right. Drag. All pointed toward the surface. All pointed toward me. I dropped the panel and ran. Locked the door. Turned off the lights and sat in the dark with my back to the wall. I tried to tell myself I imagined it. That the calls had messed with my head. That this is stress. Exhaustion. Isolation. But then, my phone rang. Not the dispatch phone. My phone. No caller ID. No name. Just a pulsing, empty screen. I answered. Silence. Then, a sound I hadn't heard before. Clicking. Not from a device. From a mouth. Like teeth tapping together. Then a voice I recognized. The same man. But different. Slower. Like his mouth wasn't working right. He said, she's not under me anymore. Then a pause. Then, she's under you. And the line dropped. I didn't move for hours. I think I sat in that chair until sunrise. The hatch is still there. I can feel it beneath my feet right now. Sometimes it gets warmer. Sometimes colder. Last night, I swear it was breathing. The tile rose and fell. I've stopped sleeping. Stopped eating. Stopped answering calls that come in after midnight. Because I know one of them will be her. And I don't know what happens if I answer. I don't know what she says. But I know she knows me. Knows where I sit. Knows how long I listen. And I think she's getting closer. Because earlier today, I found a new voicemail on the dispatch line. Not from caller. From a recording. But not one we made. The file was just labeled under. I played it. 3 sounds. Scraping. Like nails on cement. A wet breath. Right into the mic. My name. My full name. Whispered like a prayer. Then silence. No timestamp. No metadata. No origin. And the file? Gone now. Won't play again. Doesn't show in the system. But I know what I heard. And I know where it came from. Somewhere deep. Somewhere under. She's down there. And she's moving toward me. That there's a difference between hearing something strange and hearing it again. Once is fear. Twice is dread. 3 times? That's a loop. And that's what this has become. Every night, same time. 3:17 a.m. The phone rings. Line 5. Always line 5. It doesn't matter if I'm logged in or not. Doesn't matter if I unplug the system, restart the server, cut power to the building. It still rings. Sometimes, I don't even hear the ringtone. Sometimes I just look up, and the line is active. Connected. I used to answer it right away. Now I just stare. Because I know what I'll hear. Not a scream, not a voice. Just me. I don't mean it sounds like me. I mean, it is me. My voice. Word for word. Same breath. Same panic. Like someone took a recording of something I've never said and is playing it back through the phone. It starts the same every night. 911. What's your emergency? Then silence. Then my voice, but scared. Crying. Whispering. She's not on the walls anymore. She's inside the line. After that, static. Low. Heavy. Like water running over gravel. Then clicking. That same teeth-on-teeth clicking I told you about. And finally, a word. One word. From her. Listen. Then the call drops. That's the loop. Same sequence. Same timestamp. Every single night. I started recording it. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't log it in the call system either. Just hooked my phone up to a portable recorder. After a week, I had 7 copies. Identical. Until night 8. That night, it changed. The call began the same way. 911. What's your emergency? Then the silence. Then me. But this time, I said something different. She's watching you now. I swear to God, I didn't say that. Not ever. Not in a dream. Not during a panic. Not even in my thoughts. But there it was. My voice. Telling me she was watching. I shut off the recording and deleted it. Wiped the whole folder. But the next night, it came again. Same call. Different words. You're sitting exactly where I was. She's behind you. She's breathing through your mouth. Over and over, my voice saying things I never thought. Things that didn't make sense. At first. Then it started to. Because the more I listened, the more I remembered something. Something I hadn't thought about in years. Back when I was a kid, maybe 9 or 10, I used to talk to myself. Not out loud. In my head. But it wasn't like I was talking to me. It was like someone else was in there. Responding. Echoing. I remember I'd sit under the covers and just wait. For the voice to come. Sometimes it was comforting. Sometimes it wasn't. I don't think it was imagination. I think it was her. I told my mom once. I said, there's someone else inside my head. She said it was stress. Childhood anxiety. I stopped talking about it. But one night I recorded it. Taped my little cassette player and left it running under my pillow. When I played it back the next morning, there were 2 voices. Mine. And something else. I buried the tape in the backyard. Never looked at it again. Until last week. I drove back to my childhood home. It's vacant now, owned by the bank. I jumped the fence, went to the old tree in the backyard, and dug under the roots. The tape was still there. Warped. Water damaged. But the label was clear. Me, night 4. I took it home, cleaned it up, and played it. The first few seconds were just breathing. Then my voice, small, tired, afraid. Are you still here? Then a whisper. Not mine. Not even human. But close enough. Always. And then a sound I hadn't heard since. Clicking. Teeth. Scraping. The same noise from the dispatch calls. She's been with me longer than I thought. She's not a ghost. Not a demon. She's a pattern. A loop. A voice that learns you. Learns how you speak. How you breathe. And then takes over. Little by little. Until you're not sure what thoughts are yours anymore. That's how she gets in. Through repetition. Through habit. Through the places you don't guard. Like your voice. Your words. Your job. And the worst part? I think she's using me now. Because a new call came through last night. Not to my line. To someone else's. A rookie. Just started last month. He flagged it because something felt wrong. Said the voice sounded fake. Said it sounded like someone trying to mimic distress. I asked to hear the tape. He played it for me. It started with this. 911. What's your emergency? Then static. Then my voice. Not current me. Young me. 10-year-old me. Sobbing. Begging. Please make it stop. I don't want to dig anymore. I don't want to be down here. Then silence. Then her voice, low and gurgled, said, she dug this far. Now it's your turn. Then the line cut. That's when I realized something. She's not just copying me. She's copying my calls. The ones I've heard. The ones I've taken. The ones I never told anyone about. She's built a whole library of screams. A chorus of pain. And now she's feeding it back through the system. Replaying the worst moments over and over until they're all that exists. I pulled every call from line 5 over the last month. They don't match the dispatch records. Half of them never happened. Half of them are exact duplicates. Same name, same voice, same timestamp. Like someone hit rewind, then play, then rewind again. The system is looping. She is looping, and the loop is spreading. Last night, I walked into the break room and found the TV playing static. Not cable static, radio static. Old, broken, like a frequency that doesn't exist anymore. But underneath it, I heard breathing, then the sound of dirt being scraped, then the sound of me whispering, "You're already down here." I unplugged the TV. The sound didn't stop. It kept playing from the walls, from the vents. I smashed the set. Silence. But the screen never went black. Even in pieces, the screen still glowed. Like it was still on. Like she was still watching. I know how this ends. I've seen it. Heard it. Felt it. She doesn't take your body. She doesn't even take your mind. She takes your voice. Your identity. She replaces your words with hers. And once everything you say belongs to her, so do you. Forever. Like an echo with no source. A mouth with no memory. I try to leave this place. Packed my things, walked out the front door. But the streets didn't look right. The sky was darker than it should have been. No cars. No wind. Just silence. And every street light flickered in sync. On. Off. On. Off. Like a signal. I looked down at my phone. 3:17 a.m. Line 5 was active. Not a call. A recording. Of me. Walking. Breathing. Saying, "Wherever you go, you're always under her now." I threw the phone and ran. Didn't get far. Because the road curved back on itself. Every turn led to the same intersection. No matter where I went, I ended up in front of the dispatch center again. Like the building had become the center of something else. Something deeper. A tunnel. A throat. Swallowing everything in reach. That's when I understood what the loop really is. It's not just audio. It's not just a call. It's a place. A repeating space. You don't just hear it. You live it. Over and over. Until you forget what came before. Forget what's real. Forget who you are. Until all that's left is the voice. Her voice. Saying the same thing again and again and again. Listen. And now, you're hearing it too, aren't you? You made it to the end. You followed every word. Every breath. You listened. You traced her with your eyes. You invited her in. And now you're part of it. Just like I was. Just like she was. Now the only question is, what will you say when the line connects to you? Because it will. Soon. And when it does, she'll be waiting. To hear her favorite sound. Your voice. Begging to get out. Most nights, dispatch is boring. Drunk drivers. Barking dogs. A couple domestic calls. You log it, take a sip of cold coffee, and move on. But every once in a while, something wrong slips through. Something that doesn't sound right. And on those nights, you feel in your gut before the call even connects. Like something's waiting. That's how it started, the night of the blackout. I was just finishing my shift. 11:59 p.m. Half asleep. And then, line 7 lit up. No caller ID. Just a location tag. County Line Road, Zone 19. Which was weird already, because Zone 19 had been inactive for almost a year. Storm damage wiped out half the power grid. County said it wasn't worth fixing. No one lived out there anymore. No electricity. No lights. Just abandoned farmland and empty roads. We called it the dead zone. And yet, here was a live call pinging from inside it. I answer like I always do. 911. What's your emergency? At first, I thought no one was there. Just static. A weird clicking noise. Then a voice, shaky, like they'd been crying for a while. Male. Mid-30s maybe. You're the first person to answer. I've been calling for hours. I asked for his name, but he didn't give it. Just started talking. Rambling. He said his power went out around 5 p.m. That wasn't strange. The whole zone was dark. But what was strange was that he claimed to see people. Dozens of them. Just standing at the edge of his property. Not moving. Not talking. Just watching. I asked if they tried to approach. He said no. But every time he turned the lights off, even for a second, they got closer. By 7 p.m., they were on his porch. I asked how he still had power. He said he didn't. But his generator was still running, barely. He sounded exhausted. Said the shadows were in his yard now. Said he could see them standing near the tree line. I tried to pull up his address again, but it vanished. Just blinked off the screen. Gone. I asked him to repeat where he was. He said something strange. I don't know. Everything looks wrong. The trees aren't where they're supposed to be. I told him help was on the way, even though I wasn't sure that was true. We didn't have an active patrol that far out anymore. The whole zone was unserviced. But something about his voice, the way it cracked, like he was holding back a scream. I couldn't ignore it. I put him on hold and tried to patch into the county grid, just to see if we had anyone near that zone. And that's when the power blinked in our building. Just for a second, all the screens flickered. Lights dimmed. The air went still. And the call dropped. I stared at the screen. Line 7, inactive. Ping location, gone. Audio log, corrupted. I reached for the phone to redial manually, and it rang. Same line, same zone, same number. I picked up. Before I could say anything, he was already screaming. They're inside. They're inside. Then a crash. Then silence. Not the kind of silence you get when someone hangs up, but the deep kind. The kind you feel in your chest. Like the whole line is holding its breath. I whispered hello. And what I heard next, I will never forget. It was a child's voice, but it didn't sound alive. It was flat, cold, like it was reading off a script it didn't understand. You shouldn't have listened. Then the line went dead again. This time it stayed dead. I logged the call, marked it urgent, and flagged my supervisor. He said the same thing they always say. Storm interference. Equipment failure. Case closed. But I couldn't let it go. I don't know why. Maybe it was the way the man's voice cracked. Or maybe it was the child. The way it knew I was listening. I needed to find out what happened. So I dug through some old records. Turns out there used to be a family that lived out near County Line Road, right where the call pinged. Single dad, 2 kids. They moved there a few years ago. But one winter, the kids disappeared. Vanished without a trace. The dad claimed he saw someone watching the house. Said they came from the woods. No one believed him. They found the kids' coats by the back door. Footprints leading into the trees. But none coming back. The dad was taken in for questioning. He swore he didn't do it. Said he saw figures standing in the snow. Tall, thin, shadowy. But the case went cold. He was never charged. And then, he disappeared too. No forwarding address. No calls. Nothing. The house was left empty until someone else bought it last fall. And I think that's who called me. The new tenant, who didn't know what had happened there, who didn't know what lived in that dead zone. I couldn't sleep after that. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw shadows at the edge of the room, standing still, watching, waiting for the lights to go out. I tried to tell myself it was stress, that I was just shaken up. But the next night, line 7 rang again. I stared at it for a long time. Didn't answer. I just watched the seconds tick by. Eventually, it stopped. No voicemail. No trace. I checked the log. Nothing recorded. Like it never happened. But every night after that, same time, 12:04 a.m., line 7 lit up again. And every night, I got a little more afraid to answer. Until last night, I couldn't take it anymore. I picked up the line. Didn't say a word. Just listened. At first, nothing. Then the static returned, followed by that same clicking sound. Then breathing. And then the voice. The man. The same one from before, but quieter now. Like he was calling from underground. They're not shadows. They're holes. I didn't understand. Holes? He kept whispering. They look like people, but they're not. They're spaces where people used to be. They fill in the dark. If you look too long, you start to forget what real people look like. Then he stopped. Silence again. But this time, I heard something else. A second voice. Low. Whispering over the first. Repeating my name. I never told him my name. It just kept going. You're already in the dark, Kayla. You just think the lights are still on. And then the call ended. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Because in that moment, I realized something. The power in my building wasn't working. The lights were on, sure. The screens were glowing. But none of the equipment was actually running. The backup generator, dead. The breaker, flipped. The emergency lights, off. It was all fake. Just leftover current. Fading. Dying. And when I looked up at the security camera monitor, Every screen showed me, sitting at the desk, over and over. Same angle, same pose, same blank stare. It was a loop, a frozen feed, like someone had recorded me and was playing it back. But I wasn't moving. I waved my hand in front of my face, looked at the monitor. No movement, just static now. Then, for a brief moment, all the screens turned black, and I saw them. Figures, standing behind me. Tall, thin, like cutouts made of nothing. Just black outlines. Empty space, shaped like people. No eyes, no mouths, just absence. I turned around, nothing there. But I swear, I felt something brush my neck. Cold, dry, like old fingers. I didn't finish my shift. I just got up and left. Drove through town, trying to get away from the signal. But the lights kept flickering. Every street felt too long, too quiet. I passed County Line Road without meaning to. Didn't even know I was near it. But as soon as I did, my radio clicked on. Dead air. Then a voice. The child's voice. He told us about you. And then, the sound of my own voice, screaming. Not recorded, not imagined, but real. Me, in pain, from somewhere up ahead. That's when I hit the brakes. Skidded onto the side of the road. I looked up, and there they were. At the edge of the woods. Figures. Dozens of them. Just standing there. Still. Watching. Waiting for the lights to go out. Now I don't sleep. I don't answer the phone after midnight. And I never drive near County Line. Because whatever that place is, whatever lives there, it knows me now. It called me. And I answered. Now I think I brought something back with me. Because sometimes, when the power goes out, I hear a voice in the dark, and it whispers something I can't forget. There's nothing in the shadows, Kayla. You are the shadow. I've lived in this town my whole life. 34 years. And not once, have I ever looked up and seen an empty sky. Even during storms, the clouds would glow from the moon behind them. Even on our worst nights, the stars were still there. Until last week. Until the sky just stopped. It was Thursday. I remember that because Thursdays are quiet around here. No church, no football, no late-night drunks. Just a stillness that used to feel peaceful. But now I don't know. Now that kind of stillness feels like the world is holding its breath. The first call came in at 8:41 p.m. I was on shift at the dispatch station again. This time, I was the only one on duty. Small town, budget cuts. I didn't recognize the number, but the location tag said Old Farm Loop, a dead-end road near County Line. We used to get prank calls from out there. Kids saying they saw figures or lights. Usually it was just campers trying to scare each other. But this one wasn't a prank. The man's voice was slow, like he was drugged or half asleep. He didn't start with a greeting. He just said, "The stars are gone." I asked him to repeat that, thinking I'd misheard. He said it again. Same tone, same numb kind of voice. They took the sky. I tried to ask who took it, what he meant, but he just started sobbing. Not loud, just soft, hopeless tears. Then the line cut out. I called it back. No answer. No voicemail either. Just the kind of silence that has weight. I stepped outside for a smoke. The air felt off. Heavy. No wind. No insects. Just this weird pressure in my chest. And when I looked up, I understood. There were no stars. None. No moon either. It wasn't cloudy. It wasn't fog. The sky was just black. Flat. Like someone had poured ink across it. I rubbed my eyes. Waited for them to adjust. Still nothing. I pulled out my phone and opened the star map app. It showed our usual constellations. Orion, Polaris, the Big Dipper. But when I held it up, the camera showed nothing. Just dark. No twinkle. No glow. Not even satellites. And it wasn't just me. Because over the next 20 minutes, I got 7 more calls. All from different parts of town. A woman on Franklin Street said her porch light started flickering, and when she looked up, black. A hunter near the river said he could still see the trees around him, but when he looked past them, no sky. Even the kids noticed. One teenager said he was walking home when the moon blinked out. He described it like a hand sliding over a flashlight. And they all said the same thing. It didn't feel like the stars had vanished. It felt like something was blocking them, covering the sky, like a curtain pulled tight. One caller, a retired science teacher, whispered something I'll never forget. They're not in the sky. They're above it, between us and the stars. I asked what he meant. He said the shapes weren't flying. They weren't moving. They were just sitting up there, silent, still, covering everything. I asked him how he could tell. He said he'd been watching the sky for 60 years, and that tonight the air felt wrong. He said gravity felt heavier, time felt slower, and there was a low humming sound in his walls, almost like a tuning fork. He said the sound only started after the sky went dark. And then, click, he hung up. I tried to reach back. His line was dead. 15 minutes later, a sheriff's deputy named Carla came in. She looked pale. Said something happened while she was out near Route 6. She'd stopped at a red light, looked up, and noticed the sky looked solid. Like velvet. No depth. No distance. Then, right as the light turned green, a deer ran into the road. But it wasn't running from a car. It was running blind, crashing through everything, foaming at the mouth. Eyes rolled back. She said it wasn't just scared. It was lost, like it didn't know where the ground was anymore. Then 3 more deer followed. Then 7. All of them screaming in this horrible, dry way. She said one of them hit her car, and when she got out to look, she saw something behind the trees. Not a shape exactly, more like the absence of light. Like the shadows were moving, thicker than normal, like they had weight. She told me the trees looked smaller, bent, crooked, like they were shrinking under some kind of pressure from above. She didn't stay long, didn't investigate. She just drove back, parked, and started praying in the break room. She wouldn't speak again after that, just stared at the wall. Her phone started ringing 30 minutes later. I answered it, and I swear to God, it was her voice on the other end. But it wasn't live. It was recorded. A loop of her saying the same sentence over and over again. We were never supposed to look up. The same tone, same inflection, just repeating, even though she was sitting right there in the other room. Not moving, not speaking. I unplugged the phone. Didn't stop it. The loop kept going, kept playing, until the power blinked off. Total black. Even the emergency lights didn't work. And that's when I heard it. Not the phone this time, but something outside. Not footsteps exactly. Not animal movement. But pressure. Like something huge had settled just over the station. Like weight was pushing down on the roof. I swear the ceiling creaked. Carla screamed once, sharp and short. When the lights flickered back on, she was gone. Door locked from the inside. No windows broken. Just gone. I checked the cameras. None of them showed her leaving. They just cut to static. I played it back in slow motion, and frame by frame, I watched her vanish. Not like she stood up and walked away. More like she faded. Like the light around her collapsed. Like something peeled her away from the world. I didn't file a report. Didn't say a word. Just sat there for the rest of the shift, waiting for the sky to come back. But it didn't. Not that night. Not the next. By Saturday, we had over 30 reports. All the same thing. No stars. No moon. No clouds, and strange figures seen on rooftops, tall silhouettes, thin, leaning forward, like they were listening. But no one ever saw them move. They were just there, until the sky returned. Sunday morning, 3:12 a.m. The moon flickered back on like a dying bulb. The stars blinked in one by one. And then, silence again. No more calls. No more missing people. No more whispers. Until last night. Line 7 rang. I didn't want to answer it, but I did. Same static, same breathy silence. And then, a child's voice. Different from before. Not threatening. Just empty. They took the sky to see who noticed. I asked who they were, and the voice just said, not from above, from between. Then it laughed. Or tried to. It sounded like a cough mixed with static. Then it said one last thing. Don't look up next time. They remember faces. Click. Deadline. I sat there for a long time, trying not to look out the window, trying not to check if the stars were still there. Eventually, I gave in. I walked outside, took a breath, and looked up. The sky was there, but it felt wrong. The stars were too perfect. No twinkle, no movement, just a flat sheet of light, like someone had painted them on a ceiling. And in the corner of my vision, I saw a shape flicker, like a ripple in the sky, just for a second. And I swear, It was looking down at me. It was around 2:30 a.m. when the radio cracked back to life. That ugly kind of static that doesn't sound mechanical, it sounds wet, like something breathing in and out through a dying speaker. I thought it was a bad connection at first, or maybe one of the old weather towers shorting again. But then I heard a voice. Choppy, staggered. A man's voice, trying to hold it together. Dispatch, you copy? I pressed the mic button, trying to sound calm. Go ahead. Name and location. Long pause. Then more static. Then, Thompson. I'm on county line. Just outside Garber's cornfield. Something's wrong. My stomach dropped. County line again. That stretch of road's been dead ever since the blackout started. No lights. No traffic. No signals. Like the town forgot it existed. Thompson's a power crew guy. Mid-40s. Calm. Experienced. He doesn't rattle easy. But something in his voice was off. Like he was trying not to cry. Say again, Thompson. You said something's wrong. He didn't respond for a few seconds. Then, quietly, there in the field. I sat up straighter. Who's in the field? People. I think. I don't know. I saw movement. Lights flickered. Then these things came out of the corn. His breathing got faster. Like he was crouching or hiding. I thought it was just fog, but they're walking. They walk like people, but they don't have details. I asked what he meant. He didn't answer. More static. Then his voice dropped. They look like TV static. Like outlines of people. But fuzzy. Flickering. They don't move right. He paused. I could hear the wind now, picking up. He whispered. One of them looked right at me. But it didn't have a face. Just that. White noise over where its head should be. I asked if he could make it back to the truck. No answer. I don't think they know I'm here, he said, like he was trying to convince himself. I cut the engine. I turned everything off, even my flashlight. But they're getting closer. I typed out his GPS coordinates. I was about to radio the sheriff's office when he spoke again, this time, fast. Panicked. They're not walking. Oh God, they're not walking, they're glitching. I stopped cold. They're skipping forward, he said. Like someone fast-forwarding a tape. 1 second they're 20 feet away, next they're 10. They don't move between, they just jump. He started crying then. Real tears. Real fear. One of them standing right next to my door. I didn't hear it walk up. It's just there. I told him to stay calm. Not to move. Help was on the way. But I knew no one was coming in time. He whispered again. They're humming. There's this high-pitched noise. Like an old TV when it's on mute. I asked what they were doing. He said, they're just standing there. Not touching anything. Just watching. Another long pause. Then, one of them looks like my brother. I didn't respond. He died in '09, Thompson said. Car crash. But this one, it's shaped just like him. Same height. Same walk. But it's wrong. It's hollow. He gasped. It just copied me. I moved my hand, it did the same. Like a mirror. The radio cracked hard then. Screeching static. I winced, pulled the headset off for a second. When it settled again, his voice was lower. Tired. Like something was draining the life out of him. They don't want the power back on. That's why we can't fix the grid. Every time we get close, something breaks. I asked what he meant. He didn't explain. It's like they feed off the dark. Off the quiet. They're made of it. He whispered now. They're leaning in. I can feel them breathing on the glass. I told him to stay down. That backup was coming. He said, you don't understand. The static, it gets in your head. He started mumbling then. Words I couldn't follow. Garbled, echoing nonsense. It didn't sound like English anymore. It sounded like a broken signal. Like a person trapped inside a radio. Then silence. No click. No goodbye. Just silence. I tried calling back. Nothing. We sent a patrol car out there an hour later. They found the truck. Door open. No one inside. The corn around it looked flattened, like something had dragged itself through it. We found his hard hat in the dirt, and a flashlight still blinking. But no sign of Thompson, and no footprints. Except one of the officers found a strange residue on the glass of the driver's side door. Smudged in a wide, hand-shaped mark. Not fingerprints. Not grease. It looked like TV static. Like dust from an old screen. And in the recording room, we played back the radio audio. But it wasn't his voice. Not anymore. It was mine. Word for word. It was me talking about the shadows. Me whispering about the shapes in the field. Me saying, one of them looks like my brother. But I didn't say that. He did. Except now, the tape says I did. And when I tried to show it to my supervisor the next morning, it was blank. Just static. I haven't told anyone else what I heard. What I still hear, sometimes, late at night, when the wind passes through the phone lines just right. It sounds like whispers, like crackling voices in the corn, calling names that don't belong to anyone alive. I think about what Thompson said, about how they moved, how they looked like people but weren't, and how they didn't want the power back on, how they liked the dark, how they needed it. And now I wonder, what if they were always there? What if the only thing keeping them out was light? And now that the grid's down, now that the stars are gone, there's nothing holding them back. No boundaries, no fences, no difference between where the static ends and we begin. Last night, I looked out my window, and I swear, I saw something flicker in the corn, just for a second, like a person made of snow, staring, waiting, and I swear, it looked just like me. The first time I noticed it, I thought it was just a clerical error. I was trying to send a request to the State Patrol, standard escalation for a missing worker, but the form wouldn't submit. It kept giving me an error. Invalid region. County not found. I double-checked the input, reset the system, tried again. Same thing. County not found. It didn't make sense. We're not some tiny ghost town on the edge of a map. We've been here for over 150 years. I've lived here my whole life. My parents, too. County line is real. It's always been real. But suddenly, the system didn't recognize it anymore. I called the regional dispatch center myself. Spoke to a woman named Tina. I've talked to her 100 times before. But this time, she sounded confused. Wait, which county did you say you were in? I repeated it. County line, I said. Right outside Garber. We've got a missing lineman. Possibly others. Silence. Then, ma'am, I don't see that jurisdiction anywhere in our records. I laughed. I actually laughed. I told her she must be looking in the wrong database. That maybe it was a regional split or their server hadn't updated after the blackout. But she just said flatly, we don't have any service regions listed by that name. We have no active files, no emergency infrastructure, no listed municipalities, no schools, no law enforcement entries. Nothing. My throat went dry. I hung up, checked our department system again, looked up our jurisdiction profile. It was there, barely, a few lines of data, an old postal code, but no history, no active links, no population count, just one chilling note. Region marked inactive as of August 3rd. I stared at it. August 3rd. That was the night the first call came in. The man screaming about shadows on the road. I called every office I could think of. State Patrol, Emergency Response, Federal, County, Private. One by one, I asked them the same question. Can you confirm the active status of County line? And every time, I got the same reaction. Either confusion or something worse. Recognition. One guy, someone from Homeland, I think, didn't even ask who I was. As soon as I said the name, he went quiet. Then he just whispered, "You're not supposed to be there." I asked what he meant. He hung up. The next day, our line stopped working. No outgoing calls. No internet. Only the emergency radio still worked. And even that started acting strange. Some of the officers tried to leave the county, just to check if it was some outage or firewall blocking our communication. They drove 10, 20, 30 miles out. But every time, they ended up right back where they started. Sometimes they swore they'd gone straight the whole way. But the signs would change. The road would curve. And without realizing it, they'd find themselves circling back around the same patch of highway. Like the town was folding in on itself, trapping us inside. I know how it sounds. I know how all of this sounds. But I've seen the maps. The updated satellite feeds. They're missing roads. Whole blocks just gone. Like someone deleted them. Like they were erased from the record. I tried calling my cousin in another state just to hear a normal voice. But when I dialed her number, a strange tone buzzed in my ear. Then a voice I didn't recognize whispered. No one left to call. I froze. Because it wasn't a recording. It knew I was there. I could hear something behind the words, breathing like wind pressed through metal. That same static hum from the first night. I threw the phone across the room. It didn't break. It just stopped working. That night, I stayed at the station. I didn't want to go home. Didn't want to look outside and wonder if the stars were still gone. Didn't want to see the shadows in the corn again. Didn't want to feel that awful feeling in my bones, like the whole world was shrinking. Around midnight, the console lit up. Incoming call. No ID, no number, just one blinking word. Repeat. I answered it. A voice whispered, "Dispatch." It was me. My voice. My exact tone. Word for word. The same call I took on the first night. The man in the dark. The shadows on the road. The missing lights. But this time, I was the one calling. And the person on the other end was answering like it was normal. Like they were just me. 2 days ago. I tried interrupting. Tried talking over the loop. Didn't work. I wasn't in control of the call. It just played. Like a recording. Except it wasn't a recording. Because when I listened closely, the background changed. The breathing shifted. Words slipped in that weren't there before. At one point, my voice said something I never said. They're replacing us. Then static. And a sound like someone dragging their fingers across a glass screen. I shut the call off. Pulled the plug on the console. But the screen stayed on. Even unplugged, it kept glowing. Just that same blinking word. Repeat. That was 3 nights ago. Every night since, the same call loops again. Sometimes at 12:03 a.m. Sometimes at 4:12. Never the same time. Never the same words. But always my voice. And always the same ending. You're the last one left. I've started seeing things now. People walking past the windows who don't leave footprints. Reflections that don't match. Glitches in the walls. Little ripples, like the world's fabric is buckling. Today I went through our county registry. There were 42 names last week. Now there's 6. Only 6 people left in the system. Me. 5 others. Everyone else is gone. Not dead. Just deleted. Like they never existed. I tried calling their homes. Disconnected. Drove by their houses. Empty. No furniture. No photos. No mail. Like no one ever lived there. Even the grass looks untouched. Too clean. Too smooth. Like someone reset the space. Like they were wiped out of the world, one by one. I don't know how many of us are left. I don't know who's real anymore. And I don't know if I'm even still in the world. Because earlier tonight, I got another call. No number. No location. Just one word on the screen. Me. When I picked up, no one spoke. Just breathing. Deep. Slow. Then a voice that sounded like mine, but off, slower, distorted said, "Your job is to answer calls. But what happens when there's no one left to call?" Then silence. Then, "You've been talking to yourself." I dropped the headset. And now I can't shake the thought. What if I've been here alone for days? What if no one's been answering me? What if the people I hear on the radio are just echoes, shadows of voices trapped in a loop? What if this whole county is just a dead signal, flickering on a broken frequency, waiting for someone to pick up? And now that no one's left to call, maybe I'm the last voice in the dark, the last flicker in a system that doesn't know it's already shut down. Maybe I am the static now. Maybe I always was. And all that's left is the loop. There's a basement under the dispatch station that no one really talks about. It's not on any floor plan. No signs. No labels. Just a gray steel door behind a stack of broken filing cabinets near the loading dock. First time I saw it, I thought it was for janitor storage or maybe old wiring. But last Tuesday, the power flickered while I was restocking the med kits, and the hallway lights blinked out just long enough for me to see something strange. The door was slightly open, and something was glowing inside. I don't know why I opened it. I just did. Inside, there were stairs, steep concrete ones that led down into a cold, unlit space. The kind of dark that makes your skin crawl. At the bottom, I found a room filled wall to wall with shelves. And on those shelves were boxes. Dozens of them. Unlabeled, plain, covered in dust. Except for one. Right in the center. Not tucked away like the others, but sitting out on a metal table, like someone had recently gone through it. There was a single sticker on the front, red and cracked with age. Do not review. August 1999 to February 2000. I remember standing there, frozen. I'd only been at County Line Dispatch for 3 months. I was still the new guy, but even I knew we weren't supposed to be down here. The old-timers avoided this place like it was cursed. One of them, Daryl, once told me over lunch, "Some of the old call logs ain't meant for playback, kid. You hear things that don't want to stay buried." I thought he was just messing with me. But now, holding that box, I wasn't so sure. I should have left it alone. I really should have. But there was something off about the way the tapes inside looked. Old, black reels, handwritten numbers. Some are labeled with dates. Others had no markings at all, just a single word scratched in white ink. Bleed. Wrong. Overlapping. I picked one up. Felt a weird heat coming off it. Not warm like plastic. More like static, maybe. Like something in the reel was still moving. Back upstairs. I slipped it into the playback deck in the secondary booth. No one else was on shift yet. It was just me. Just curiosity. Just boredom. That's what I told myself, anyway. I hit play. For the first 10 seconds, it was silent. Then, "Can you hear me?" The voice was faint. Female. Early 30s, maybe. But the tone. It was like she wasn't just scared. She was lost, like she didn't even know what she was anymore. There was a crackle. Then her voice again. "They keep telling me to say it. I don't know what it is. They said if I call enough times, I'll remember. But I think I already did. I think I remember everything." She paused. And then, with a voice barely above a whisper, "I died here." I felt ice slide down my back. I looked at the screen. No metadata. No location info. The console didn't even show an audio feed. It was like the system didn't register the tape was playing. I let it run. The woman started repeating herself. Same lines. Over and over. But the weird part, her voice changed slightly each time. More static. More distortion. Until it sounded like someone else was copying her, overlapping her words. And right before the tape ended, a male voice broke through. "We see who listens." Then click, it stopped. No end time. No data recorded. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the deck. It smelled like burning plastic. But the tape wasn't hot. It was cold. I reached for another one. This one had no label. I pressed play. This time, it was a man. Older. Deep voice, trembling. I saw them walking through the wheat fields. No feet. Just flickering legs. Faces like TV static. They stared at me like they knew my name. But I didn't even remember my own. His breath quickened. They called me through the phone. Said I'd left a part of myself in the wires. That they could stitch it back in. But it had come out wrong. Said I'd glitch if I spoke too loud. He started to cry. Not loudly. Just tired crying. Like he wasn't allowed to stop. Then he said, "I think the calls are feeding them." Click. Silence. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Just sat there and let that last line ring in my skull. The calls are feeding them. I've worked this job long enough to hear every kind of emergency. Fires. Collisions. Break-ins. Suicides. But these tapes weren't emergencies. They were warnings. I started playing more. One after another. Each one stranger than the last. There was a tape where no one spoke. Just the sound of old rotary phones ringing endlessly in a giant room. Dozens of them, echoing like a machine graveyard. There was another where a little girl whispered to someone off mic. "If we pretend to be dead, the voices won't drag us into the wires." She giggled like it was a game. One tape didn't even have audio, just a single sentence printed on a note inside the case. "The operator is becoming signal." I don't know how long I stayed there. Hours passed. The sun went down. I missed check-in. My phone battery died. And the whole time, I just kept listening. Not because I wanted to, but because it felt like the tapes were learning from me. Adapting. Repeating things I'd thought but never said. Using memories I hadn't shared. One of them even played back a conversation I'd had with my sister years ago. A private call from before I joined dispatch. I stopped it. Pulled the tape out. And the label scratched into its side. "You." I dropped it. Ran back down to the basement. Shoved the tapes back into the box. But the second I put the lid on, I heard something behind me. Not footsteps. Just breathing. Slow. Measured. Coming from the other end of the shelves. I didn't look. I just closed the box and ran. I slammed the basement door shut. Shoved a metal cabinet in front of it. I didn't tell anyone. Not my supervisor. Not Daryl. Not even my own brother. And he's a cop. Because I knew what they'd say. They'd say I imagined it, that it was stress, that I was overworked. But I wasn't. I'm still not. I've been listening closely for days now, paying attention to our regular calls. And I'm starting to notice patterns. Phrases repeating, voices slipping. Same reports from people in different towns. Like the same call is echoing through the system over and over. Like there's something hiding in the calls themselves, something old, something smart, something waiting. Waiting for someone to dig it up again. And I think that's what the box was. Not an archive. A trap. Someone knew what those tapes could do. That's why they locked them away. But now I've heard them. And I think they've heard me too. Because today, during my shift, a call came in. No caller ID. No GPS location. I answered. Dead silence. Then, after 10 seconds, my own voice, trembling, scared, whispered, "Don't listen to the next tape." Click. The console went black. And when I turned around, the box was sitting on my desk. Even though I locked it in the basement. Even though I never brought it back up. There was a new tape inside. No label. Just one sentence etched into the reel. "You're part of the archive now." I didn't sleep much after that first night. Even when I got home, I kept hearing the playback in my head, like the reels were still spinning somewhere deep in my ears. I kept the lights on. I unplugged the landline. I even turned my phone off for the first time in years. Didn't matter. That box was still in the station, still sitting under my desk like it belonged there. No one else seemed to notice it, like it had always been there. That morning, I tried to tell Daryl about what I'd heard. He just shook his head and said, "Son, there's a reason we bury the past." I asked him flat out, "Are the tapes real?" He didn't look at me. He just said, "Don't answer any call that doesn't have a source." I mean it. That should have been enough for me. But I was already in it. The first tape changed something. Not just in my head, in the way the dispatch system responded to me. The panel started flashing at weird intervals. Calls with no metadata. Audio routing through channels we don't use anymore. And always from line 0. There is no line 0. Only 1 through 8. That night, I was alone on the late shift. Storm clouds rolled in early. Thunder in the distance. Street lights flickering. Power surged once, then went steady. At exactly 2:41 a.m., the console lit up with a new call. Line 0. Caller ID, unregistered. Location, none. Time elapsed, midnight. I froze. My hand hovered over the receive button. I should have let it ring out. But I didn't. I answered. For the first few seconds, it was quiet. I could only hear a low hum, like wind through a dead forest. Then came the voice. Faint, breathless, but human. "Please, someone, please help me." A woman. She sounded like she was crying, not loud, but raw. Like she'd been crying for so long that the tears had just stopped coming. I kept my voice steady. "Ma'am, this is County Line Dispatch. Can you tell me where you are?" She didn't answer that. She just whispered, "It's so dark. They took the lights. They took the sky. I can't see the floor anymore." I felt a chill spread across my chest. I asked again, "What's your name? Can you describe your surroundings?" She sobbed. "Just once. I thought someone would come. But no one comes after dark. They said they'd answer. They said they'd hear me." There was a crackle, then static, then silence. I stared at the screen. Still no data. The call timer still at 0. I tried tracing it, running it through the logs. But the system locked up. When it finally unfroze, the screen displayed a new message. "Record found. Tape 47B. I didn't even know there was a tape 47B. But I didn't know where to look. The box. I opened it slowly, not expecting to find it. But there it was, sitting on top like it had been waiting. Black reel, dusty label, scrawled in shaking handwriting. 47B, Lucy Keller. That name, it hit something in me. I knew that name. I pulled up the database, searched through old emergency call reports. There she was, Lucy Keller, 34, from the North Ridge area. Reported missing December 12th. Declared deceased after a 3-day search. Body found in a dried-up creek bed. Cause of death, unknown exposure. No injuries. No signs of assault. Time of death estimated, December 14th. But that night I got the call, it was December 19th. 5 days after she was confirmed dead. I couldn't breathe. I didn't want to play the tape. Every part of me was screaming don't, but my fingers moved anyway. The tape deck whirred to life, and Lucy's voice, that same voice from the call, came through the speaker. "Hello? Please. I don't know if this is getting through. It's cold here. I can't feel my legs." She paused, then whispered. I was supposed to be dead. I gripped the edge of the console. She continued, her voice cracked and slow. I remember drowning in the dark. Not water, just dark, like I fell into a pit where sound doesn't travel. I screamed for hours, I think, but my mouth wouldn't move. Then something opened, not like a door, more like a gap between things, and I could hear again. I reached through, found a phone, dialed a number I didn't know, and someone picked up. I wanted to stop it right there, but I couldn't. Her voice dropped lower. The man on the other end said I wasn't allowed to leave, that I had called from the wrong side. He said my name doesn't belong on any list anymore, but he let me speak, just once, just to see if anyone would listen. I realized then what had happened. That night, the call I'd answered, it was her, Lucy, calling from after. I kept listening. If anyone hears this, please tell my son I didn't leave him. Tell him I'm still trying to find the light. Then, softly, under her breath, there's more of us here. We're learning how to reach through. Sometimes the wires are thin enough. Sometimes the operators pick up. There was a long silence. And then, another voice joined hers. Male, croaking, echoing like it came from deep underwater. We're coming back through the calls. The tape popped, smoked slightly, and ended. I ejected it with shaking hands. Set it down, then realized my headset was still live. I hadn't taken another call, but someone was already speaking into the line. You heard her. I yanked the headset off and flung it across the desk. It kept transmitting. You're marked now. She reached you. That means we can too. I unplugged the deck. Silence. For a few minutes, I just sat there, staring at nothing, trying to feel real again. I called in sick the next day. Told them I had the flu. They didn't ask questions, but I didn't rest. I went to visit Lucy Keller's address. It was a small gray house, edge of town. Still had the memorial candles out front. Her sister answered the door. Looked like she hadn't slept in days. I asked her if anyone had used Lucy's phone after she died. She blinked at me, confused, then led me inside, down the hall, to Lucy's room. There, still plugged in on her nightstand, was an old landline phone, disconnected from the wall. She told me it hadn't rung once since the funeral, but there was a sticky note taped to the receiver. On it, in Lucy's handwriting, if it rings, don't pick up. I left in a daze. Back at my apartment, I locked the door, drew the curtains, sat in the middle of the floor, and for the first time in years, I prayed. Not to God, not really, just to anything that could hear me over the static, because I had this sinking feeling deep in my gut that Lucy wasn't the only one who'd come back, that the tapes weren't recordings. They were gateways, and every time I played one, I left the door open just a little wider. You ever feel like the future's already happened and you're just catching up to it? Like you're walking through moments that were already decided long before you made any choices? That's what it felt like after the second tape. After Lucy's voice came through the line, from 5 days after she was confirmed dead, I couldn't shake the sense that something had shifted. Like time had loosened its grip. I'd stare at the clock in the dispatch room and swear I'd see the hands twitch backward. Just an inch. A second stolen. And that box, that old, dusty box under my desk, it started to feel heavier. Like it wasn't full of tapes anymore. But pressure. Memory. I wasn't supposed to listen again. I knew that. But I also knew something worse. I was already part of it. And when you're part of it, it doesn't let you go. It was 2 nights later, during another late shift. Quiet night. Too quiet. Static hummed faintly through the radio panels, even when everything was off. That humming was always there now. And then, like it was waiting for me to look, the box caught my eye. The top was slightly open, like someone had reached in and pulled something out. I hadn't touched it. I was sure of that. But when I knelt down and lifted the lid, there it was. A new tape. Black reel. Cracked label. The writing was shaky and smudged. It didn't say a name. It just said one word. Me. I stared at it for a long time. Tried to laugh it off. Told myself it was a prank. Daryl playing games. Some kind of old dispatch hazing. But I knew. The box never had duplicates. Never had blanks. And now it had a tape with my name. I should have walked out. Tossed it. Burned it. Instead, I sat down and slid it into the deck. The reel spun once. Then again. No sound. Just the mechanical whir. Then, click. The audio kicked in. And it was my voice. Crying. Begging. Please, please, I don't know where I am. I can't see anything. Everything's wrong. I froze. It wasn't just a voice like mine. It was me. The same speech pattern. Same stutter. Same breathless panic I'd only ever heard when I had my first asthma attack as a kid. If anyone can hear this, please, I need help. I fumbled for the stop button, but it wouldn't stop. The reel kept spinning. My voice kept pleading. The air, it's so thick. I can't move. There's something behind the walls. It watches me when I breathe. I slammed my hand on the eject. Nothing. The deck hummed louder. It told me not to speak, but I had to. I had to try. Someone has to know what's coming. I yanked the power cord out of the wall. The lights flickered, and the voice cut. Suddenly, silence. I sat there, staring at the lifeless deck. Then the power came back on, but not just the normal hum of electricity. All 8 lines on the dispatch panel lit up at once. Not ringing, just lit. Waiting. I didn't answer. I didn't move. But something else did. A low, digital tick came through the speakers. Then a distorted version of my own voice, layered over itself like overlapping radio signals. You've already called. You've already cried. We heard you. Now we remember you. I slammed the main breaker. Pitch black. Even in the dark, I could still feel the panel lights, like they were burned in my eyes. I stumbled out of the dispatch room, heart pounding. I didn't even go home that night. Just drove. Kept going until the gas tank hit empty. I ended up in an old rest stop off the county line. Sat there in the cold for hours. Just me and the humming in my ears. By sunrise, I told myself it had to be some trick. Old recordings stitched together. Maybe a training simulation. That had to be it, right? Except there was no record of my voice being used in any simulations. I checked when I got back. And the next day, the tape was gone. Not in a box. Not in the trash. Just gone. But here's the part that messed me up most. The dispatch system keeps automatic transcriptions of all tapes that get played, even the corrupted ones. I found a text file saved to the backup server. File 1089_playback_error.txt. I opened it, and what I read wasn't a recording. It was a log, a transcript of a future event. It had a date, September 19th, 2026. Nearly a year from now. It described me sitting alone in the dispatch room. Same time, same shift. A call comes in on line 0. I answer, and then nothing. Just static. Then screaming. Then silence. Final line of the transcript said, caller location, inside the room. I printed the file, folded it, burned the copy, but I can still see every word burned into my brain. Because I haven't told anyone the worst part. I remember that night. Not now, I remember it already happened. Like a déjà vu that hasn't come yet. Every day since I played that tape, I've felt it getting closer. Like a spiral closing in. Every time I hear static now, I feel sick. Every light flicker makes me flinch. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear my own voice from behind the wall. Not echoing, just waiting. It whispers things I haven't said yet. Things I'm afraid to even think. I asked Daryl again about the box. I told him I had a tape of my voice. He didn't flinch, didn't even look surprised. He just said, yeah, that happens sometimes. I asked him, what do you mean sometimes? He finally looked me in the eye, and he said, every dispatcher who stays here long enough hears themselves eventually. It's not about ghosts. It's about echoes. The system remembers what we fear, and sometimes it gives it back. I left early that night. Didn't even clock out, but I can still feel the call waiting. Line 0 hasn't lit up again yet, but it will. And next time, I don't think it'll just be my voice I hear. I think it'll be me on the other end, crying for help from somewhere I haven't gone yet, somewhere I can't come back from. And when that happens, when I finally answer my own call, I don't think anyone will be able to pull me out. Because I'm already inside the tape. Already part of the system. And the playback has already started. I showed up for work last night, like I always do. Parked outside the dispatch center. Buzzed in. But when I walked through the front doors, something felt wrong. The air was heavy. Not warm, just full. Like stepping into a room that had been sealed shut for years. The lights were on. The coffee pot was still warm. Dispatch logs were open on the screen, like someone had just been working. But the room was empty. No one at the main desk. No chatter on the intercom. No sign of Daryl. No sign of me. That's when I noticed the whiteboard behind the break room door. The schedule was written in green marker, just like always. But under Tuesday, my name was crossed out. Not erased. Not skipped. Just a single black line through the letters. Mara off. But I wasn't off. This was my shift. I reached for the walkie and tried to radio Daryl. Hey, I'm here. Dispatch is empty. Where is everybody? Silence. Then crackling static. Then a different voice. A voice I knew. My own. You're not on the schedule anymore, Mara. I dropped the radio. It didn't fall. It just vanished. Gone. Like I let go of something made of smoke. My legs buckled. I dropped into the chair at the main console. Everything looked normal. Until I opened the call log. Every call from the last 3 nights was marked NO dispatch. Not missed. Not dropped. Just not recorded. And under operator ID, blank. It was like no one had worked the last 3 nights. No one but me. Except when I opened the personnel system, my name wasn't listed. Not just off the schedule. I wasn't in the employee directory anymore. I searched everything. Emails. Logs. Clock-ins. No record of Mara Keys. Like I'd never worked here. Like I'd never existed. I ran to the locker room, heart racing, hands shaking. My locker was gone. Just an empty wall where it used to be. I checked the mirror by the door. And for a moment, I wasn't there. Just the room behind me. Lights flickering. No reflection. No sound. Then, pop. I blinked, and there I was again. Pale. Wide-eyed. Like I hadn't slept in days. I ran back to the dispatch room. Grabbed my phone. No service. No contacts. My camera roll was empty except for one photo. Me, sitting at the dispatch desk. Eyes wide. Mouth open. Like I was screaming, but there was no sound. I dropped the phone and turned to leave. And saw the box. The same dusty box. Back under the desk. Even though I'd burned it. Even though I watched it crumble into ash. Now it looked older than ever. Cracked corners. Black mold creeping across the lid. And this time, no label. Just a single piece of torn tape stuck to the top. Scrawled across it in blood-red ink were 2 words. Erase me. I didn't want to open it. But I had to. I don't know why. I just knew it was meant for me. I peeled the lid back. Inside was one tape. No case. The reel was warped. Melted slightly. Like it had been through fire. I held it in my hands, and for the first time, I felt cold all the way through. Like my bones remembered something my brain hadn't caught up to yet. I slid the tape into the deck. No label. No timestamp. Just a low whine as it began to spin. Then a voice. This is Mara Keys. Final log. It was me. But not me now. Older. Tired. Voice broken from crying too long. If you're hearing this, I don't know what's left. I don't know when you are. But I need you to listen. The static was louder on this one. Almost drowning me out. They took the tapes, the memories, the people, but I stayed. I stayed to find out what it was, why it chooses us. I could hear something behind my voice. Faint, breathing. It's not a place. It's not a ghost. It's a loop, a system, and it only exists when we look, when we remember. Every dispatcher who hears their own voice becomes part of it. We're feeding it with our fear, our pain, our memories. I think I've been here before. My voice started to crack. I think I've died here before. But it always rewinds. It always plays again. Then silence. But the tape didn't stop. A full minute of dead air. Then, just before it ended, my voice returned. Whispering, erase me. Please. Erase me before it records again. The reel stopped spinning. The tape clicked, and the power cut out. I sat there in the dark. Alone. Listening. Waiting. I think I cried, but no tears came. Like even that part of me had been overwritten. Then light, but not from the room. From the box. A soft red glow pulsed from within it. Like a heartbeat. I looked down. The tape was gone. But in its place, something worse. A new recorder. One I'd never seen before. Already spinning. Already recording. The red light blinked twice, then locked solid. Recording. And I knew then what I'd done. The tapes weren't messages from the dead. They were traps. Copies. Every time one of us listened, the system copied us. Pulled us in. And once it had your voice, you were part of it. I backed away slowly. But the room shifted. Walls stretched longer than they should. Lights buzzed with a sickly yellow hum. The clock on the wall spun backwards. And from the speakers, my own voice returned. But not from the past. Not from the tape. From now. You shouldn't have stayed. You shouldn't have listened. I turned to run. But there was no door. Just walls. Endless rows of shelves. Stacked with tapes. Each one labeled with names I recognized. Daryl. Lucy. Jonas. Claire. And near the very top, one fresh label. Still wet. Mara. Final copy. I screamed. Pounded the walls. Begged someone, anyone, to hear me. But the dispatch line never rang. No lights. No calls. Just the whir of the recorder. Still spinning. Still listening. And in the silence, I heard one last thing. The future version of me whispering from some dark place I haven't reached yet. They erased me. And soon, they'll erase you too. That's why I'm telling you this. Why I'm recording this final message, however I can. Because if it ends with me, maybe it won't start with you. Maybe if no one listens to this tape, if no one plays it, the system will go quiet. The loop will break. And we'll all be free. But if you're hearing this, if my voice reached you, then it's too late. The recorder's already running. The box is already under your desk. And soon, you'll be just like me. Nothing but a whisper on tape. A name crossed out. A voice begging for someone. Anyone to erase me.